be good enough. Speaking of good enough, welcome everyone to the Respawn Aim Fire podcast, the kick-ass, irreverent gaming podcast where 5 lifelong friends gathered around to talk about video games. I'm Chad Michael Linus. We've got Holden DePardo with us.
Hello.
And we've got the nerds at large. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves so people can associate your names with your voices. Go.
Well, I am Darby Hallman from Nerds at Large. And hey, Chad, do you remember when they made Brand King?
Oh, God. What a terrible, terrible thing.
And I am Jeff Mayo, the other Nerd at Large.
You might remember Nerds at Large from way back when Game of Thrones Season 8 was on, and we joined them for a spoiler cast each week. If you are curious about our thoughts on that old dinosaur of a show, go back and listen to it.
We really liked it.
Yeah.
We really liked it.
Loved it,
Loved
you guys.
it. If you just want a beacon of positivity.
So
What's funny, though,
good.
is that we did like it, like the first 2 episodes, in terms of like, oh, we're really curious where they're going with this. And then you just hear our reactions drop off into the abyss.
I think the long night is when we're mostly like, okay.
Yeah.
We know how this is going to go now.
But
It's one of those things where, like,
it was
you-
like, well, there was good things. There's good things. It's going somewhere. It's like,
It's like when you get a dog and the dog is like, it shits on the floor and it like chews your windowsills and you're like, no, this is fine. It's great. He'll calm down, and then he like bites your kid and you're like, you know what? The kid was hitting it with the toy, and then it like goes for the jugular on your husband, and you're just like, this is not okay. This is not okay. It's just
This
one
may
thing
not be
after
working
another.
out.
And by
Great
the time you get to
metaphor,
the
Nate.
finale, it's like going back home and realizing if I want to open the door, it's just going to be shit all over the place. The dog just wrecked my apartment. Do I
Is that
even
a
want to
shit?
go home?
Is that a shit on the floor?
Oh, shit, the dog shotgunned my family.
yeah, you remember when they introduced shotguns in the Game of Thrones? Might have been improved.
And you, the
They've
listener,
already-
are the 5th lifelong friend. Thank you for listening. We love you. Your support is wonderful. If you'd like to support us, Respawn Aim Fire's Patreon at patreon.com/RespawnAimFire. You can get all sorts of cool goodies. You can play along with us. You can influence what we play, and you can get dope-ass wallpapers. Ooh, ass wallpapers. That's what's going to be next. No, we've already decided what's next. You're drawing stick figures for it.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
All right.
Shit.
We should have... Oh, no, save it. That's an April Fool's. I forgot about that. Okay. We're going to start this episode with a segment that we do usually when we have guests on for the first time since whenever we started doing this, so I think it was August or something like that. It's a segment called Read the Nerds at Large Instruction Manual. We call it that regardless of who's here. We call it the Nerds at Large Instruction Manual.
We had that much an impact on them, Darby.
Wow.
You guys...
Hey, thanks for the free plugs, because I just realized we didn't even plug anything. We just talked about Game of Thrones at the top. Check out Nerds at Large Gaming Podcast. That's it. Thanks. Bye.
Dope. So I'm going to ask you 3 interview questions, and then I'm going to have video game word association. I'm going to name 10 video game type words, and I want just your immediate reaction to whatever that is. So question number 1, without mentioning video games, describe yourself.
Who wants to go first?
You can go, Darby.
All right. Well, I think I'm a very passionate. I try to be a very passionate person. I think I can consider myself a perfectionist, even if I'm not good at a lot of things. But I try my best, and I don't know. I try to be a loyal and positive person, and I think that I'm a positive person until I'm around Jeff, and then Jeff's usually like way more positive than me and makes me feel like makes me feel very, very negative.
Jeff, you're up.
Okay, well, like Darby said, I can be a very positive person. I try to look at the bright side of everything. Let's see.
Just your voice and your demeanor is just like, I'm so smiley, and I love it.
Yeah. I moved in with Jeff now a few weeks ago, and it's just like every now and then it's just I just need the positivity in my life. I'm like, Jeff, can you just start talking about Kingdom Hearts? I don't care about Kingdom Hearts. I just need the positivity.
But could be a very shy person, but once you get to know me, sometimes I just can't stop talking, and I'll probably annoy you.
This is unrelated to the interview questions. You guys moved in together. That's awesome. That's a big step.
Yeah,
not necessarily for your relationship, but like for your continued podcast.
Yeah, and we have a dedicated streaming and podcast room now, which is pretty sweet.
Nice.
But it's like these microphones are just always set up. It's like so easy. It's pretty awesome.
You just walk in and sit down and you're done. Like that's
It's great.
That's
It's
it. You don't even have to talk about anything. You just sit down.
Right, our podcast is just us staring into the camera for an hour and a half. It's great.
Sometimes we lick our lips. Sometimes we might blow our nose. It's riveting. Speaking of, question number 2. Tell us about your content.
So we have our main podcast is the Nerds at Large Gaming podcast. It's similar to Respawn Aim Fire. We talk about what we've been playing at the top of the show, and then dive into news, and then have a main topic. And every now and then, Jeff pulls out a game for us to play and shenanigans ensue. It's a good time. That posts every Monday, and that's definitely our primary show. We also will react to like the Marvel movies and Star Wars movies at Nerds at Large Spoilercast. That's also where you can get Game of Thrones. And then very soon, probably this week, I'm going to try to hold myself to this week, we are actually launching a new podcast, and it's a D&D podcast. We're doing a live play campaign that I am writing. The first arc that you're going to hear is actually from a pre-made campaign, but I kind of doctored the end to transition into the story that I'm telling. If any of your listeners have ever listened to the Adventure Zone from the McElroy brothers, that's absolutely basically the style I'm aping. But that's really exciting. It's definitely like the biggest creative endeavor I've ever done. It's like I'm making this story, and it's like, I hope this is good. I hope this is something. But that's going to be called Nerds and Dragons. And that's going to, the podcast feed and everything about that should go up this week. If not this week, then probably next week.
Yeah. We also doing a little more streaming now that we have this space. Makes it a lot easier, especially that we're living together. So usually getting together is the hard part, but makes it a lot easier. Currently streaming a Pokemon Nuzlocke for Pokemon Shield, where we catch a bunch of Pokemon, nickname them, and send them to their deaths.
Yep. We've already had some tragedy that has struck him. It was,
you guys
fun.
are going to love our Game on Game show today. It's going to be great. Awesome. Question number 3. Who is someone who truly inspires you?
All right, Jeff, you go first. I went first last time. Unless you're just not ready.
My mom?
All right, go for it.
I don't know, it's kind of the basic stuff. She's just works hard to try to make a good life for me and my sister and all that. She believes in us, and like, in spite of difficult times in her life, she always pushes forward. I know that's very basic stuff, but that's just the truth.
She also listens to metal music and takes me and Jeff to metal shows.
That's awesome.
It's pretty great.
One of my favorite bands is Slipknot.
All right. That's awesome.
Well, I was gonna obviously my parents, like, obviously with it, that's self-explanatory, but I was actually gonna go with there's a like kind of a indie pop artist that I listen to called Lights. She's from Canada. And she's just an artist that I've been listening to ever since I was in like freaking 7th grade or something like that. And it's just been it's been very cool, kind of, especially me and Jeff. We're still into music, but that used to be like our main thing, where video games are our main thing now. That used to be what we did. And I've just been like kind of following her career ever since then, whenever she was just like making music on MySpace and just got shared a bunch. But like no one really knew her. All of her videos were just like her in her bedroom, just like playing an acoustic guitar. And then like I saw her go through her career, start to rise up, and then kind of go down again. And she stopped making music for a few years, was like talking about stopping. And then suddenly she started making a few more albums, and then now she's like exploding. She's selling out shows and going all over the place. And it's just it's really cool because it's weird to see someone that big that like I literally would like tweet and stuff at like a long time ago, and she had such a small following that it was like, yeah, whatever. So
that's awesome.
I mean, I just tried to pull one that was a little bit out of the ordinary, and I
love it. That'll be you someday. Somebody
It's
be
gonna
like,
be me. I'm gonna
back
be a
when I
pop
was
artist.
listening to Darby's podcast, now he's so big.
You'll marry the singer of Bless the Fall.
Yep, I'm gonna marry the singer of Bless the Fall. We're gonna do it.
Awesome. We've got video game word association. I've got 10 video game related words for you. I'm going to say them, and then I want you just immediately, whatever the first thing that comes to mind is.
Wait, so question. Do we both answer to each word just together?
Yes. Just shout it. Just shout it out.
Okay.
Both of you, like at the same time.
Okay,
Number
gotta make
one,
sure.
Sean Layden.
PlayStation.
Gone.
Right? Where the fuck is he?
Dead in the ditch? We don't know.
Yep, probably. I bet they have someone on his Twitter account, like, logged in, not him, just, like, liking things to make sure everybody thinks he's alive. 100%. Number two.
That was around the same time as Area 51, you know what I'm just saying?
Oh, shit.
He stormed forward. He was with them, running towards Area 51.
Now he's in space.
No, he's in
Number
prison.
two.
They arrested him. He made it on. He found all the secrets. He saw the aliens.
He's drinking pina coladas with Reggie. He's fine.
Gross. Ugh, coconut, get out. Number two, cross button.
PlayStation.
Cross but yeah, PlayStation.
Am I gonna say PlayStation for all of these? Find out.
Maybe. Number three, rear touchpad.
PlayStation.
Gross.
Number four, DPS.
Damage per second. I'm sorry. It's space.
Nerd talk.
Nerd talk. Freaking nerds. Number five, latency.
Computers.
PC.
Gross. Number six, Jeff Keighley.
Show.
Kojima.
Show.
Show.
Just very
We have some
generic
pretty boring
show.
answers here. We're not doing great.
Number, what is this, 7? Yeah, number 7, rendered in engine.
Fake.
I need to be more. I was gonna say Xbox. I don't know. Something about their presentation seemed very. I don't know.
Number 8, ray tracing.
Control. None of my answers are good.
Computer was what came to my mind instantly.
Number 9, strand game.
Kojima.
Fake. Doesn't exist.
Fake genre.
It's not a genre. That's
Number
an
10.
action adventure game.
Right? Number 10, do you remember Anthem?
No.
No, what are you talking about?
Crazy. That piece of shit came out this year and totally everyone forgot about it.
But
That's it.
It's still in the top 10 selling games for MPDs.
Is it really?
Yeah, we go over it every month and it's still hanging on.
Holy shit.
Or may have just gotten
How?
off this month or something. But
Well, now that it was
$6
$5 on Black Friday, like,
I mean, I don't think it's been anywhere near the top 10 any of those months. It
No.
just sold so
It's
much
just
in
from the
beginning.
first month.
oh, gotcha. Like year-to-date sales.
Yeah.
That's a
I'm just
lot
gonna
of
say,
disappointed
as
people.
a rule, I think if you're before your game comes out, if you're calling your game the Bob Dylan of video games, it's gonna be underwhelming. You're gonna like. I think it's just a bad sign. You shouldn't be saying that.
Well, that brings us into playtime, where we talk about what we played this week and probably, I don't know, I was going to make a funny joke, but I couldn't think of anything on the spot. I'm just so nervous. Holden, you haven't talked in a while. Tell us about what you played this week.
I don't have much to say because all I really played was a little bit of Katana Zero. On the
Nice.
recommendation from Adam Gumby, and that is a really, really fun game so far.
Yeah, it is.
It's essentially, I mean, I'm not that far into it, but essentially is you play a level as a samurai, and there's some sort of like, some kind of decision you have to make towards the end sometimes. Like, there might be a person you want to talk to them or kill them, and then after the level's done, you have to talk to your therapist about what happened. And you can just, like, beg for your medication, or you can kind of play along, and it's as you play along, it starts to fill in kind of story details of this dream you had. That's kind of where I'm at right now with the game. But it's interesting, and I'm really intrigued to kind of where it goes from here. It also just feels so goddamn good to play. It's really satisfying.
I had
really
no
good.
idea that was a thing in the game. I honestly don't know much about this game other than, like, Andy Cortez freaking loves it.
Yeah, I didn't know about that at all. I knew there was a game that did that, and then I started playing going, oh, that's this game. I had no idea.
Yeah, Jeff, that's probably pretty up there in your game of the year, I imagine, right?
I'd have to imagine, yeah. I played it like right after it came out, whenever that was, January or whatever it was. Really liked it. Actually, speed ran it a couple times because I enjoyed the gameplay that much, and is like a puzzle, so you kind of learn as you go.
Oh shit! There's puzzle elements.
It's not a puzzle. It's like figuring out how to defeat enemies in the right way, in the right order, because it's very fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
If you die, you just go right back to the beginning level again. You got to do it all
if you get hit once, you got to start the section all over again. So it's figuring out how to go through the level without getting hit and all that, and when to use like your slow down time mechanic and all that.
I just want to say, Chad, I feel you on the spiritual level. Oh god, there's puzzle elements.
Isn't Baba's You like one of your favorite games of the year?
I know. Yeah, you were talking about Baba's You, and I was like, "Fuck that game."
I mean, that is such a like outlier for me, and it's specifically because I played it with my sister, who's a lot smarter than me.
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Our combined brain power did that. No, but usually I get pretty frustrated with puzzle games.
Holden, what else do you play?
That's it. I did Google Stadia, but I think you played more of that than I did, so I'd rather hear your impressions of that when we get there.
Okay, and then you can just chime in with whatever the fuck you played on it.
Yeah, exactly.
But before we get to me, I'm going to talk to Jeff. Jeff, tell me what you played this week.
Okay, the game I mainly played, I beat the game AI: The Somnium Files.
I've never fucking heard of that. What is it?
It is a visual novel-esque game made from the Zero Escape, the main guy behind the Zero Escape series. It is a very Japanese anime-esque game as far as things go. What you're doing is you're solving a murder. That's how it starts out, and you play as a detective who has a fake eye, which has an AI built in who you talk to, just kind of throughout the game. And there are branching story paths in the game. Then you get kind of different endings, but there's the way it works. There is one true ending. And the different branching paths, what they mainly do is fill out details for the other part of the story. So, for example, I finished one, and something kind of happened, and it's like, I don't get the reason behind that. Immediately went back to one of the other paths, and it explained it kind of immediately, because that's where that path naturally took it as far as explaining it.
Yeah.
And the main part as far as the gameplay goes, you as the detective enter people's dreams, and this is where the weird anime stuff a lot of the time happens, where it's a distorted version of their dreams, and you're supposed to kind of like solve little puzzle things to try to figure out what they're hiding, if they're lying, all that kind of stuff. It's really
fun. What are you playing this on?
Switch.
It's on Switch?
Yeah, and PS4.
Okay.
I will say this, though, as far as the anime stuff, to let people know if this turns you off. There are a couple weird anime things, like the main character is a pervert. They bring up that joke too many times. I'll say this because I think you guys will get a laugh out of it. There are a couple firefights in this. And to get the main character to do what she wants, the AI will say, hey, there's a porn magazine over there. And he will move at super speed.
Yep, out. I'm out.
Yep.
Record.
Yep, that is deep down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's not as bad as I make it sound, but it's still something that's there. And then there's stuff like a 12-year-old girl has super strength, just because reasons. But it is a very interesting game. It has a good mystery going on, and I really enjoyed the characters. Though I do wish they toned down the whole pervert aspect of it.
Just your classic anime whodunit.
Maybe it ties into the end of the game. Maybe like when you just finished it, so you would know.
Yep, I know all the
murder.
secrets. It's really well done as far as the branching path, though. It kind of, you at the end of it, you kind of understand why the different stuff happening in different paths, as far as like what was different in each one. So why did different things happen?
Dope.
Yep.
Darby, you're up.
All right. Well, the game I beat this week, it was a long, grueling, hour-long experience, but I beat Sayonara Wild Hearts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did somehow, that game's an hour long, and I somehow managed to split it up between like 5 sittings.
I think how many sittings I did for AI.
Yeah,
that's like a 20-plus hour game.
I would just play it like in my lunch break. I would play like 2 songs, and then I'm like, all right, that's enough. I'm going to go. Not that it was bad. It was very good, but I don't know how I managed to do that. But no, that's a really just a cool, nice little experience. It's basically, it's like would you call that an endless runner? I don't know what exactly you would call it. It's the on rails thing. You're kind of like going on a path and collecting stuff, but it's to the beat of this music. It's basically, it's like you're playing an album. It's like a pop album, and you're like playing the music video for it almost. And you'll do all this, all these like tracks and stuff that you're going on are to the beat of the music. And it was really cool because as it went along, at first I was like, okay, is this going to be the whole game? Is the whole game just like, it's not really my type of game, just like the single button jump and collect things type deal. But there's definitely like 4 or 5 different times in the game where it really turns it on its head. And it's like, now you're in this, you're like, I mean, I'll just say one of them, but you're like now you're in a pirate ship in the ocean and there's like waves and stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. It's like, this is pretty cool. And I think obviously it's so short, so it's kind of like there is no fat. There's not much fat on it, except for the only thing that was a little bit of a bummer to me is like the main songs were really good, but then there was a lot of songs in between those where it would like start to introduce an idea and then it would just end. Like the whole song was like 40 seconds long. And it's like, all right, well, that was just kind of a waste of time. At least for me, it felt that way.
What did you play
it
that
makes
on?
sense that they put it on Apple Arcade because it sounds like it's very kind of play it when you can, kind of small dose experience.
Yeah, it's structured into songs. Like when you beat a song, it will go to the select screen for the next song, and you have to like hit A to go. It doesn't just like go one into the other. So you can. It's very easy to just play a song or two and then peel out. I played it on Switch. I played it pretty much all in handheld. It was just a cool game to just pick up for a little bit. I don't think it's like. I don't think it's a game that's just like absolutely revolutionary or anything like that, but it was a fun experience for an hour. And it's probably a testament to how good the music was because like I said, I played it over 5 sittings somehow, and I was like halfway through the game, and I was like, I really need to go finish that so I have like permission to start listening to the album on Spotify. I didn't want to listen to the album on Spotify until I had beaten the game, but it's like I really want to listen to that album in the car, so I need to beat that game.
Yeah, I liked that game. I played it when it came out on Apple Arcade. I didn't like the touch controls on the iOS device, so I hooked up my DualShock to my iPad. But I really liked, as you kind of mentioned, like the first few levels, you're just like, is this going to be the whole game? But yeah, there were so many different like little surprises and ways that they changed it up on you that really made the hour fly by. And I'd say it's a very worthwhile hour. I don't know how much it costs on Switch, but
so yeah, I think I got it for like $10 or something, but it wasn't that bad. And then, I mean, it's something I'm definitely going to be interested in what that studio does next because
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure that didn't take a whole lot of budget. I'd be interested to see what they do because I mean, a lot of people were talking about this game, so I think it did pretty well.
Yep.
And pretty much everything Annapurna touches at this point is at least a baseline of good.
Annapurna's so good. Except
good.
for Outer Wilds. I didn't like Outer Wilds.
Oh, Outer Wilds is so good.
Need to play it. It's on my short list.
Outer Wilds is a game that I'm like... games like that is such a 50-50 toss-up of whether I'm going to completely fall in love with it or I'm going to be really frustrated by it. And it's so hard for me to tell until I'm in it,
Exploration
I totally know where you're coming
puzzles.
from.
Woof.
I was early on, I was very close to quitting, and then I found this area where it's like 2 planets. One is covered in sand, and the other one it has like all these caverns, and it's got like deep valleys and stuff. And the sand transfers from one planet to the valley planet and starts to fill in the valleys. But if you can get there early and get like down deep in the valley, there's all these caverns and stuff you can navigate around, but the sand's filling up, and it just was really tense. And oh man, I think about that game a lot still. It's really, really excellent. But I totally get it. It's definitely we're not telling you shit. You better figure this out because it's on you. It's very much like hands off, like nothing guides you.
If it's one of those games where if you know what you're doing, you can complete it in like 30 minutes. But because you don't know what you're doing, it takes you like 20 hours. I'm out.
Yeah, it's one of the only speedruns I've seen where I'm like, 18 minutes? I could actually do that. That's not that hard.
Oh, that's so gross to me.
Speed running. Ew.
Gross. Ew. Speedruns? Break the game? Get out. Jarvis, did you play anything else?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forgot we're still on. Yeah, the only other thing is I started Devil May Cry 5. I'm still super early in it. I I played all of the other Devil May Cries as a kid, but it's been a long time. So like I started this one up, and I was like 30 minutes into it, and I had to pause it, and it's like, all right, let me pull up the Devil May Cry recap, because I don't know what the hell is going on. Like, I don't know anything. It's just there's a bunch of anime nonsense going on.
Hell yeah.
But I started that too.
Well,
Sorry,
after I watched the recap, I'm like, oh, that is just Devil May Cry. And like once you started playing it, it's like, yeah, this is when you're playing it, it's a game that like I really enjoy playing it. It's a blast to play, but it's almost, you feel like you're going back and listening to like an old Korn CD when you used to like Korn.
Corn. I haven't thought about corn in so long.
But exactly, that's what Devil May Cry is. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of like that, but I have not thought about that in like so long, because the story, you just love it on such a superficial level. It's like monkey brain, because it's like, oh, it's cool guitar, fighting demons, blowing shit up, and like making corny jokes. It's such a superficial kind of like dumb thing, but you kind of can't help but fall in love with it, you know?
Yep.
And
Like
just
the ridiculous parts where like you go to a payphone and you call your friend, and then it's like, cool, I'm just gonna fucking drive this van out of the center of the earth and then completely destroy this building you're in so you can get an upgrade. It's like that. It's so over the top. I love it.
And even some of the lines where it's like one of the first bosses like has this like mouth in its stomach that has like this fire inside of it. It has these teeth in there or something, and like one of them says something that's like, oh, he's gonna get you with his tummy teeth. And I'm like, I should hate that line, but I kind of don't. I kind of love it.
Are you playing it on Game Pass?
I am. I'm actually playing on Jeff's Xbox.
I love that came to Game Pass, because there are so many people I know now that are finally giving that game a chance. I think it was like I think a lot of people passed on it when it deserved a lot more attention.
Well, it's like I wanted to play more action games. It's not the genre I have a lot of experience with in terms of like pure action games, like a Devil May Cry. And that's exactly why I'm playing it. It's on Game Pass. I'm like, okay, no risk, just gonna play it. And I'm glad you said you were confused with the story at first, Darby, because I've never played Devil May Cry before. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I should not have played the 5th game in a series first. But that's just kind of what Devil May Cry is. It's just ridiculousness.
I felt the same thing, but then like I watched the recap video and then I started playing it. I was like, I don't even know if I needed to do that. It's just kind of like, you get it. These characters, like, they are corny and you kind of get their dynamics and then you just go. It's like I said, you almost feel slightly guilty for liking it in a way, in a dumb way. I mean, you shouldn't feel guilty for it, but it's so stupid, but I love it. And but the combat is like really fun. It's very flashy action, but so far at least I'm super early in, but there's already they've given you enough like combo things where they're like using the buttons in interesting ways. Like if you pull back on the left trigger and do something, you can send them up in the air, but if you push forward, then you do this. And it's very intuitive and easy to chain those things together, and it makes it look like you know what you're doing more than you do.
It is easy to button mash, but then when you do actually go and like figure out what those combos are and practice chaining them together, you do feel really cool playing it.
And they have the immediate feedback too. One of the things that's always kept me away from action games, and I did play when I was younger, is that I felt like I was shit at them, and then I'd get the score at the end that said like C, and I'm like, well, yeah, I thought I was shit, but I never knew what I could do to really improve. So to kind of see that gauge filling up and see your rank going higher, really, I think for me at least, made a huge difference in that, because I feel like it does look cool, and I know what I'm doing now because I got that immediate feedback.
And just when you hear that narrator come in and say "badass," you're like, hell yeah, man, yeah. And the music fits it so well. That's another thing. Like Devil Trigger is the like corniest, like most dumb song in the world, but every time it plays, you're like, let's go.
Excuse me, you forget the Guilty Gear song?
Go. That's just bad.
No, it's great. 10 out of 10.
But it's a lot of fun. It's going down real smooth right now after Jedi Fallen Order being kind of a disappointment. A lot of games, honestly, this year being a disappointment. It's kind of nice I'm just going to sit back and just go on this ride. It's not trying to do too much, but it's just fun. It's a fun game.
Yeah, for sure. Dope. Anything else?
That's about it for me. I've been playing Shantae and the Half Genie Hero. It's an old game. It's really good and jolly, but not a whole lot to say about it. It's just a fun time.
Good and jolly.
Good
Jolly
and jolly.
Ranchers. Gross.
Jolly Ranchers. I don't really.
Yep.
No, the Jolly Ranchers are just like you always want to chew them and then you regret chewing them. I played a few things this week. One, I finally 100 years later, I beat Overcooked for the first time. Overcooked 1.
Whoa. We never
Yeah.
did that. We were in space, whatever, like late in the game.
Yeah, space,
Yeah.
and then like after space, there's an extra level that gets added to every single world. You gotta go beat that. You gotta get and then the final level is like 16 minutes long, and you just have to complete every single order in the 16 minutes. It was really fun. I played it with my friend Kurt, and Holden, I'm sorry to say that he's actually really good at Overcooked as well. So I know that we had our thing in our relationship, but I found someone new.
We can all 3 play together. We have 3 chefs in the kitchen.
You're right. Yeah, so I'm not platinumed. I beat Overcooked, and we'll probably move on to Overcooked 2. But then this was raid weekend. We'd been planning this for a month. This Saturday, we got together. Well, first things first. Early in the morning, we had our 6 people ready to go. And Joel
Fucking
Campo,
Joel, man.
63.
Hey, Joel, get it together, Joel, okay?
We had all planned we're going to take this whole day, and we're going to do this Leviathan raid no matter how long it takes. And Joel says, hey, I have to be off by 4. We're like, what? You're telling us the morning of, like 3 hours before we're about to start? And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry.
Whatever it takes, Joel.
Whatever it
In Joel's
takes.
defense, I was originally in that spot, then I couldn't make it because I got called in for a work thing. But I was able to kind of call like a week in advance. Did he know you were playing this as an all-day thing? I don't think he did.
Yeah, when I sent out the tweet, I just said, hey, anyone, we're playing. It's an all-day thing. And then like 3 days previous in that thing, someone's like, is it still on? I was like, yep, day and night. But it doesn't matter because we got in there. He was really awesome. He let us make fun of him for it, which was great. So we all just dogpiled on him and made fun of him. And
I tried, Joel. I tried.
We, in the like first 2.5 hours, which was really all he was able to stick around for, we beat all 3 challenges and got to the final boss, and we were able to take a couple of attempts at the final boss. And that was so fucking fun. It was nice because we had spent 8 hours failing at this raid in November, so we already had a lot of experience with it. But we went in, we beat those 3 challenges, we got to the final boss, and then Joel's like, all right, guys, I'm out. I'm like, there are 5 of us. What do we do? And we all basically just stayed on party chat and just like texted everyone in the world we knew. I even tweeted Fran Mirabella and Greg Miller and like, all of them was like, hey, you guys want to hop in and fill that last slot? Fran did get back later that night and said sorry he couldn't do it, but by then we'd beat it because Jerica, who's also in the thing, she's a host on Games, Glitch Girls Gaming. She's part of the What's Good Games. Sorry. She's part of the What's Good Guardians, and someone on there came and helped us out and kind of like low key made fun of us while he was doing it. He's like, all right, here we go. What's your plan? What's your plan going in here? Like, this is how we're doing it. Cool. Does anyone have this weapon? No. He's like, does anyone have this skill? No. All right, at least one of you got like this thing though, right? We're like, none of us know what that is. He's like, oh my god, when did you guys start playing this game? But we got through it. We beat the final boss. It was so fucking great. And in that, we had a ton of fun, and we've decided that like we want to do it again. So on January 4th, it looks like we're going to play it again. We're going to try to do the Prestige raid version of it. If we did the regular raid, I think we could honestly do it in like maybe an hour and a half now.
That's awesome.
But it was great. Excellent communication skills you need for that, and we had it. It was wonderful.
We should do something where like you guys show us the ropes in Destiny, and I'll show you the ropes for all I can do in Overwatch, because like I've always been interested in Destiny, but like kind of what you just said is part of why I don't do it, because everyone else is like, oh, I'm just going to be so far below everyone else.
Right.
That see, the thing is, I'm going to be so far below even you that you should just join us, because I'm embarrassing. So you go to the tower and you're supposed to collect bounties. I literally just parkour and run around because like I don't care about that. I'm just going to run around.
We tell Holden what to do, and he's like, yeah, I don't feel like investing any mental energy into that. I'm just going to parkour on this tree.
It's more fun. It's so much more fun.
So that was fun. And then the ringer from the What's Good Guardians took Matt and I on this quest, and I realized there's so much to this game that I had no idea existed, and now I understand why people are like deep in this game. Like he's like, oh, I can't believe you guys had never heard of this gun and this quest, and nobody's ever told you about it. I was like, no, we've never heard of it. You go to a planet, you start a public event. But you don't do the public event. You run off into a tiny cave under a rock somewhere, and there's a secret boss that spawns. You kill the boss, and then a portal opens up somewhere else, and one of the three of you has permission to go into it. And then you go into this big room, and there's a bunch of enemies, but you don't fight the enemies. You actually just kind of jump up into this tiny little hole way in the wall that you have to kind of like glitch a little bit to get to.
This is
parkour.
Hold on,
This is what I've been practicing for. Yeah, this is what I've been practicing for.
And that enters you into a secret 20-minute mission. You have 20 minutes to do it, where it's all just a bunch of like jumping and parkour puzzles of like trying to get through this obstacle course. Then you get to the end and fight these bosses, and then you get this badass sniper rifle. And I was like, there's nothing in the game that tells you all of that exists. Literally nothing. I can't imagine the very first person who's like, I'm going to start this event and then run away, and I found a boss instead. And then they get to this room, and they're like, I'm not going to fight these enemies. I'm going to try to glitch up to this little hole over here in the wall. Like, the amount of time people need to spend to discover this stuff blows my mind.
I adore stuff like that in games, though.
It's so cool.
I
cool.
love that so much.
So I'm now like invested in going through and actually like completing all of these exotic quests and like trying to find all of the little things around Destiny that aren't just like running strikes and gambit and raids like we've been doing for months. But it's fun as shit. And then I played Google Stadia. Our friend of the podcast, Matt from Rhode Island, gave me his buddy pass for Google Stadia. So I don't have the Stadia controller, but I've been playing it on my Mac in a Chrome browser. And I have some opinions and some experiences. I want to caveat by saying I played with the DualShock 4 on my Mac in a Chrome browser. I tested it in both Ethernet and Wi-Fi with a plugged-in controller and a Bluetooth controller. And I did it with two different games. So I started with Rise of the Tomb Raider. And so you have to play it in a Chrome browser on a desktop or on a computer. And it immediately is already capped at 1080p. So you can't, even though you're a pro member, you can't get 4K resolution on a PC right now. But
Love that false advertising.
love it.
Isn't it
Love it.
great?
But you do have the high frame rate available to you, so 60 frames per second. So I started with Tomb Raider, and playing it, I was actually really surprised at how well it was able to play a game from 2013. And it ran really smooth. I did hate that I didn't have the option to turn the high frame rate off. Like, you could see it grayed out in the menu. Because sometimes, like, for that kind of game, and those for Uncharted, that kind of stuff, it's like, I actually kind of prefer this at 24 or 30 frames a second because it's more cinematic, and it's kind of the feel they were going for.
Yeah.
But I had to play it with 60 anyway. But anyway, playing it on Ethernet and with a wired controller, I was like, holy shit, this works. There's a little bit of lag that's more noticeable than like the small amount of lag you normally get on a console. And there was only one QuickTime event, a QTE, that like I was like, I'm pretty sure I pressed that button 2 times. I failed it. It's like, I'm pretty sure I pressed that button at the right time, and it just didn't register. But outside of that, it played really well. No visual stutters or anything like that, really. And then I unplugged it and played on Wi-Fi, and I'm 5 feet from my router, nothing obstructing. It's just direct line of sight to it. And I didn't really have any kind of visual artifacting at all, but I did have noticeable stutter. Like, drop down to maybe 10 to 15 frames per second every 2 or 3 minutes. And it wasn't for a long time. It was honestly only for like 3 to 5 seconds. But it always happened to be like in a time where like I'm aiming at an enemy's head, and then like frame rate skips, and like that totally fucked up that shot. Or I was running and trying to jump, and I missed the jump because of the frame rate stutter. But that was on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that kind of stuff can get worse when you play, like, you know, fighting games and other things.
Right, exactly.
They're more like that. But it's interesting. I haven't talked to anyone who's played it before. I didn't even know you had been playing it. That's really cool. But my biggest thing with Stadia is, like, honestly, the way the tech is running, like, it sounds like it definitely has some problems, but honestly, it's running about as well as I would have thought from it launching right now. My biggest problem with Stadia is I feel like by the time it gets to the point where they have all the things that they were advertising and anyone can get it, because there's no way I
don't know if you guys can hear me, but I lost you.
Yeah, I did too.
You're gone. You're dead.
You still can't hear us?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you said my biggest thing about Stadia, and then you froze.
Okay. Well, yeah, my biggest thing about Stadia is just that I think by the time they get all this stuff that they've been promising together, and the public can play it. I think xCloud's going to be there and be better because it's going to have the whole Game Pass library. And like me and Jeff have been saying from day one, all of Stadia's problems would pretty much be solved if they just had a download option. Because it would be a no-brainer. I would buy all my PC games on Stadia because I would have the option to play on streaming on my phone. But then I would also, if I'm in my house, I can just download it, you know?
Can I tell you, though, booting up Destiny 2 in Stadia was revelatory.
Yeah.
Oh
super
my
fast.
God. Like, one thing, 60 frames per second in Destiny 2 is so good. It's still only 1080p, and I guess I should tell you a little bit about my network or my environment. So I'm playing on a 16-inch MacBook Pro. I have like a 250 megabits per second Wi-Fi and Ethernet, so like more than enough to power it all. And so the 60 frames per second like was life-changing going into it. It was like, oh my God, I feel so smooth and I feel so slick running around this world, and the menus are so slick and you can navigate them really well. But the loading times in particular, because the servers and the game are both running in the cloud rather than your computer having to talk to it, it was literally, when we were raiding, I was like, hey, let's go back to the tower. And on our way to the tower, I literally said, I'm going to go change my laundry over in the laundry machine. And walk over and move everything over, pour the detergent, put your shit in, come back, and like it had just loaded by the time I got back. And in this one, I click, I want to go to this planet, and I want to go here, and it's like, boop, you're there in like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And for Destiny, I can't imagine how much time we spend in menus. Like, menus on Stadia 2 are just, they're a snap, a breeze. Like, you're like, I want to go to the map part, and you're like, bloop, trigger it, and it's there. Whereas on PS4, you're like, I'm going to press the button, it's going to load a while to get to the map screen, and then the map itself is going to load. I'm going to hit the options to see my character screen, and then all the stuff's going to take about 10 seconds to load. Like, I don't know how much time in my life I waste loading in Destiny 2. But it's so quick on Stadia.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of the benefits of having the server-based stuff rather than the download. And it was kind of cool to be able to say, oh, yeah, I want this game, and I'm just going to click the play button, and it runs. And I don't have to download a patch and download the game, and it's just going.
I played Destiny as well when I was on Stadia, and that was the first thing I noticed. It is night and day difference. In the menus, I did sense a little bit of lag, because like when you're on the map menu, it has a very particular feeling with the resistance when you're moving around.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt a little bit off, but it never distracted me too much. And then, because I'm so terrible at Destiny, as we've covered, I didn't really feel like it was impacting my performance that much. I was also playing on an Ethernet connection as well, though, and I was using the Stadia controller, which kind of reduces the lag even more.
Right.
I was pretty impressed by the experience.
I was too. But as long as I was wired in Ethernet with a plugged-in controller, I'd say this is a perfectly fine way for me to play Destiny on the go. And I told Matt when he said, hey, do you want this buddy pass? I was like, yeah, it's basically going to turn into my remote Destiny machine, but yes. But I don't think this would ever replace my primary way of playing this.
No. And my caveat is what Darby had said, which is that, you know, xCloud's going to do it better. And I'm already thinking about how having a console with this streaming, that combination is like the way to go, where I can, like, when the Series X comes out and like you have these massive file sizes for games, I can imagine, because we'll talk about Hellblade too, which looks fucking gorgeous. Like, that game's going to be massive in file size compared to what Hellblade was, and you have to wait even longer. But this, you just stream the game while it downloads. You just jump into it. And like, that's the kind of stuff I'm actually more excited for, the streaming. And Google doesn't really, that's not what Google's really like doing, because like you said, they don't have the download option. And I think that's what's going to kill it for me. Microsoft's going to... I'm really excited about Microsoft now. And I feel bad for Google that I played a Google product and went, man, I can't wait for another company.
I mean, but that's the problem, because that's what everyone says, that Google Stadia is a great secondary option, but they're not. That's not what they want. That's not what they're doing. That's not what they're targeting for this, because in order for that to be your secondary option, you have to go buy Destiny 2 twice. And just that realistically, people...
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're dead. You're decapitated.
They're not dead. They're still there.
Your heads are on the floor.
Internet issues.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Sorry, I guess we're having some issues.
I love that, like, you lead into a question, and then right when we're like, all right, And then it's like, oh, the
What was I
anticipation.
even saying? I can't even remember at this point, Jeff. What was I saying? Basically, like Google Stadia works best as a secondary experience, but like in order to have that secondary experience, you'd have to like buy Destiny 2 twice. And realistically, that's not going to keep your platform afloat, expecting people to buy things twice. You know, that's just like we're
It
not
worked
going
for
to take
Switch,
that gamble.
kind of.
Yeah, it did kind of work for Switch, but
Kinda
still,
does
yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just making a joke.
Yeah.
And if it's something that they're also pitching as like a play anywhere kind of thing, and the Wi-Fi experience or the 5G or the 4G experience is not a good way to play it, then why even have it at all? Like, if the only acceptable way to play it is with an Ethernet connection, with a plugged-in controller, then why even go into that entire venture?
Didn't you see the ad? In the ad, the guy, like the big, like giant god dude, like puts his little hand in there, a big hand there, like flicks the console off. You don't have a console anymore, Chad. You can just like get rid of that box. That Space Entertainment Center is valuable. It's valuable.
Right. Valuable real estate.
I forgot about
so
that.
overall-
I completely threw those ads.
Overall, I was impressed with how well it worked in the literally optimum, like the most optimal environment you could possibly have. I was surprised how well it worked, despite even like some of the technical hiccups. One thing I did find weird about running in a Chrome browser is that there were inconsistencies where like some of the things I could control and respond to with a controller, some of them I had to actually use my mouse in order to like. If something popped up and said Google Stadia would like access to your microphone, like for Destiny chat, I couldn't navigate to that with my controller. But then my mouse wouldn't work. It would go behind that window. And so like I would have to quit the game using the escape button in order to click on that. So like there were some times when I would have to use the mouse to respond to something versus the controller and vice versa.
Yeah,
That was
but
weird.
I'll have that just playing PC games sometimes too. Just like flipping back into the browser, they can get
That's why
weird.
PC
So
gaming sucks.
yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I was surprised at how well it works. But I think you're right. I'm more excited for xCloud than Google Stadia. And also like looking at that store and seeing that like, yeah, Rage 2 costs you $60 still on Google Stadia. And if you wanted Rage 2 for $60, I guarantee you already had it for $60 somewhere else.
I'm also just nervous that Google is not going to be committed to fix the problems, because I think Stadia with some tweaks and some changes could be competitive and could be great. But I'm just worried that this is going to be seen by Google executives as we're throwing money away, kill this. I mean, if they are committed, I think if you see them add a download option, that's kind of a sign that it's like, okay, we're competing. But when xCloud comes out, just Xbox Game Pass is just an undeniable, like, you have to get Xbox Game Pass. It's too good of a deal. You have to get it. And then if they already have that foundation, it's like, oh, those Xbox Game Pass games you love playing, xCloud, and I play all of them. I mean, that's just, you can't compete with that. It's just impossible.
Yep.
It also would turn Stadia into what we thought it was going to be this whole time. So we saw Stadia, we're like, oh, it's going to be like Netflix? No, it's not, but our competitors are going to do that.
Yep.
So that's it for what I played this week. Let's move on to our quest log, starting with our fetch quest, our singular lone fetch quest, the Oculus Quest. So many words that start with quest. Quest singular, quest plural. They both start with quests. Oculus Quest is getting hand tracking early and is now due this week. And in fact, I think it is officially out by now since this article was written. So that cool hand tracking feature in VR, it's available now for developers to use. I doubt anything takes advantage of it yet, but
yeah, I'd be shocked. It's like the Knuckles controller. Very cool stuff. We'll see what happens with developers.
Yeah. Oh.
Moving on to Microsoft Quest log. Talking about xCloud and Microsoft's plans, we got the Xbox Series X reveal at Game Awards, and we've got some exclusive details. It says, say hello to Microsoft's next-gen console from Peter Brown at GameSpot. I'm going to read through some stuff, and then let's just talk console impressions.
It's
officially announced, the Series X will be cooled by a large single fan. First of all, the design of it. It's a big prism that stands tall, like a Linksys Velop mesh router. Looks exactly the same.
It looks like a PC.
So radically new design. It is cooled by a large single fan on top of the console, and it pushes that high volume air out and keeps it as quiet as the Xbox One X. In regard to the name, Spencer says the name Series X gives us freedom to do other things with that name so that we can create descriptors when we need to, possibly mentioning like other versions of the Xbox can be called other things or different lines.
Yeah.
There's a new controller. It has a hybrid D-pad that you can kind of change up a little bit. There's a share button that is dedicated right in the middle of the controller now as well. It has a slightly smaller controller that's a little bit different contour to make it more ergonomic for more people. It is backwards and forwards compatible with games and accessories. So if you have an Xbox One controller, you can use it on the One X. And if you have an Series X, I'm going to do that a lot. If you have a Series X controller, the new one, you can use it on your older consoles too, which is super cool. Phil Spencer also talked, Microsoft, I don't remember if this is Phil Spencer in particular, also talked about dynamic latency input. They've been working hard to work on the latency between Microsoft or the controller and the Xbox, and they actually use their own proprietary radio signal rather than Bluetooth to make that happen. So something that makes the more immersive experience. And then Holden noticed on the photo that there are textured triggers, it looks like maybe on there as well. And then one other feature of the Xbox Series X that they mentioned, on regular machines nowadays, you can suspend a game and pick it up where you last started. And then going forward on the Series X, you'll be able to do that with multiple games. So you can save your progress wherever you want at a glance.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. That's a pretty cool little feature. Yeah.
So tell me, what amount of erection did you have when they announced this at the Game Awards? Go.
All right, Jeff, what amount of erection?
It wasn't a very big one. Mainly because I know I'm not getting this. Probably just because of the money standpoint. I'm probably going to go PS4 because of the games, and I can just use Game Pass on PC. But this all sounds really cool. I think the design is interesting. It's definitely different than what we've had so far. I'm curious to see how it works for people who might want it to have it sideways, pretty much, if that's an option.
Yeah, my immediate thought was like our current entertainment centers that everyone has. This doesn't really fit.
Yeah,
it can be horizontal or vertical.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yep. I think they confirmed, and the interview actually, I forgot to add it in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm kind of in a similar place with Jeff. I mean, chances are next gen, just from a money standpoint. And I mean, Microsoft kind of did this to themselves, but I think they're okay with this. I mean, because Xbox Game Pass, like pretty much every first party Xbox game is coming to PC anyway. I'm going to just get a PlayStation because they have the exclusives I really care about, and then I'm just going to play the Microsoft games on my PC. I mean, I imagine that's what a lot of people are going to do now that they're offering this, and I think Microsoft's kind of just moving past we have to be top console sales and more just, if you just play our games wherever you want to play our games. We're going to have this console, but if you just want to buy all the Halos and everything on your PC, we're okay with that too.
Yeah, I was actually super, super impressed with the console itself. It's like, it's so simple. Mm-hmm. It's just that Stark box with the mesh on top and even the green light that comes out of it. I hope you can turn that green light off, actually, because I don't want that shining in my room in the dark. Playing spooky games and there's just one green light over there shining out of your get out of here.
It'll clash with the pink light you have.
That's right, yeah. The pink light. And
that's the part.
So I was not... I mean, I was really surprised by that and how much I was just like physically attracted to this console. The controller, exciting, great. I love that the controllers that I for some reason invested in this generation will still work on it as well.
What do you guys think about the Xbox Series X just as a name and then like going forward? Are we assuming that Scarlet, and we're assuming this is the beefier one, and then Scarlet is, we haven't seen, or, I'm assuming
Scarlet, it's supposed to be the beefy one, and what's the other?
Okay, I can't remember.
There's Anaconda and Lockhart.
Yeah, Lockhart.
This is Anaconda. This is the big beefy one. Lockhart is like the apparently still in development.
So do you think they're both going to be Xbox Series something, like this one's X, and then that's just going to be something else?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I think that's what the success of the name is that it's like, I think at first it sounds really weird to have a console named Xbox Series X. It is a strange console name, but I think it's that going to the whole thing Phil Spencer was going on about years ago and still on now about non-generational. This isn't a generation upgrade. This is just like Xboxes from here on out. And I think that's where Series X makes sense, because it's like having different lines at BMW. There's the Series 3, the Series 5. It just makes it more of I just buy Xbox. And I think people are even going to call this the Series X. I think they're just going to call it Xbox. Oh, which one did you get? I got the Series X. And I do think it'd be like a Series S would be the smaller one, is what I assume they'd go with, considering they stuck with X. I like the name for that reason, but it is a strange name for sure.
I mean,
it's different than what we're used to.
This is like the biggest step towards phone type things that I think I've seen. Because that just sounds like, and especially 5 years from now when you're going to have probably multiple iterations of the series, that it's going to like fall more and more into place like that. Which, I mean, is kind of cool, but also there definitely still is the standpoint of, do we get to a point where they have multiple iterations of this, but developers still feel like they have to support the old consoles just as much as they're supporting the new ones? And does like creating that many SKUs of a game either like put a whole lot more stress on the developers, or it just kind of means that you aren't really seeing the full power of your like future console?
I think if they have 2 would be fine, but I agree. If they had like 5 different Xboxes out there, that just it sounds like a huge unnecessary pain in the ass. Like, you're just kind of a PC at that point.
I was about to say, at that point, just get a beefy PC and you can do other things with it, and it just Yeah,
I do think they're going to stick with the Series X and then Series S. I 100% think Lockhart's going to come out and just be called the Series S, just because we have that established relationship between the two this generation, and we want to make sure that makes sense going into next generation as well. I also honestly think that they're probably going to release both of them at the same time. Like, I think it's going to launch with both of these two, Series X and Series S, just because they mentioned a few weeks ago, they're like, we don't want to be... Last generation, we were beat on power and price right out the gate, and we're not going to make that mistake again. And this is obviously the powerful one, but then if they also launch one that's super cheap, they can do many of the same things. I think that's their way of winning both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see it. Why it can release at the same time, even though we just got the announcement for one. Because the Game Awards, especially with the time they got, it's not a place to go ahead and explain the difference between X and S and all that kind of stuff. That's more of a E3 / whenever they do an official thing, like around February, March, or whenever that is.
Yep.
They can really take their time and flesh it out.
Yeah. I think they just Microsoft wanted to get it out there before the PS5 official reveal of all that stuff and be like, hey, look at this. Get hyped. Oh, and here's also a game from our first party that's going to be Series X only.
And showing the box office early, too, is totally antithetical to how they did the Xbox One. Xbox One, they didn't release information for a while, and we saw that console in like May or so. Like, they really held it in for a while, and now they're just starting the year off, and we already know exactly what it looks like. It's kind of always the big question with consoles is, okay, so you're releasing this new console, but what does it look like? What's the box like? And that's like the first thing they showed off, which is interesting to me.
I mean, I think it is kind of important, too, just that we have seen in some way, shape, or form 2 different looks at future Xbox consoles when we haven't seen anything from a PlayStation yet. I mean, that's coming in February, but at least this year, console-wise, Xbox was kind of able to own that as far as what people are seeing in big, flashy things. And like, I don't know, you could make arguments for it being smart or a not smart move, but they're kind of like staggering the information, because like the 2 consoles, one powerful than the other, you can see how that could be kind of confusing, especially to people who don't really follow this stuff. But instead of just coming out there immediately and saying, here is this and this SKU and this SKU and this SKU, they're like, here's this. We're going to give you some time to talk about this. Now here's this one. We're going to give you some time. And then, I don't know, I kind of feel like we've gotten to a point where I think people are smart enough to like figure this out when it comes out. Phones, they'll release the iPhone 10 and then the 10 Plus, all this other stuff, and people get that. I think people can get this, and especially because the consoles are not going to be the only place you can play these games. You can play these games on your PC and everywhere else. I think it's just it's going to become just a complete ecosystem, and we look at it too much like a console generation, when I think this is definitely the biggest kind of opening of that.
I remember when the Xbox One X and the S were both announced, and everyone was like, that's a terrible name. People are going to get those confused. They're not going to understand which one does what. X and S both sound similar, so people are going to ask for one and get the wrong one. And it was like, no, it fucking just worked, and people did it, and it was fine.
Someone's going to want the Xbox sex, and then you just don't.
What did you guys think of the Hellblade trailer that went along with it? Because I kind of think these announcements are synonymous with each other.
Drool in a good way. It was so good.
Yeah, I think
First
it was
of all,
great.
Hellblade itself is amazing. But secondly, just the way that this looked, and it had, of course, at the bottom, we all know how Darby feels about it, how Jeff feels about it. It says fake when we talk about in-game footage. But it said rendered in engine or something like that on it. But yeah, it looks fucking phenomenal, and I can't wait to fucking play this game.
Yeah, I think the trailer was great just from a standpoint of, hey, the console just announced this game, and they said it's far off, it's an early development, but we're going to show you what it could potentially look at and the power of this console. You can immediately tell the difference between the power of the Series X and what we've had so far, even if it is just an in-engine trailer.
Yeah, I'll say
that's.
Sorry, no, you go ahead.
You go ahead. You had Darby. You're fine. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, as a Hellblade fan, I don't think this trailer did a whole lot for me. It was a little bit of a weird tone for a Hellblade thing. And it was like, it honestly didn't get me any more excited about Hellblade 2. I mean, it didn't hurt that much, but it was like, I saw everyone saying like, I'm going to be thinking about this trailer forever. I won't be doing that because of the content in it. I thought the content in it was a tad weird, but honestly, I feel like this just happened to be Hellblade. This could have been Halo. This could have been anything.
Could have been Deep Down.
Yeah.
This was literally just Microsoft going out. This was Microsoft going out there, ripping off their shirt and flexing their muscles. That's what this was.
Shirt's done it with Banjo.
100%.
Banjo, deep, gritty, realistic Banjo.
Kazooie has a drinking problem. We all know it's coming.
I want to see the hair follicles, each individual one. But yeah, it was super impressive.
I think
that
you're right.
shot of the ocean was incredible.
Yeah,
the visuals is what sells it. I mean, it's I think we say this all the time, is that like it really looks like a movie now, but like it really looks like a movie now. It's really really impressive, and I definitely hear you guys on the whole like it's fake thing. It's not going to look that good when it releases, but if it's going to be in that ballpark, and that ballpark is a really exciting place. I mean, just I've never seen a trailer before, but her gums, holy shit, like her gums and teeth. Like
teeth are
so
something they never do
like,
well in games. Yeah, and then to see this, if you think about like Hellblade itself when it launched on PS4, it was one of those games. It's like, holy shit, this is stunning, like visually arresting, stunning. And if they were able to accomplish that on PS4, and now they have like what 3 or 4 times the processing power and graphics and ray tracing, all that kind of shit, I 100% believe we're going to get very close to what we just saw.
Well, Chad, you also forgot the budget they have now. They got that Microsoft money.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, the first Hellblade with the binaural audio that would like go around if you wore like big headphones. I have never experienced something like that in a video game before, and it's telling that like this trailer started. We didn't know what it was at first. When the Ninja Theory came up, and then like I started hearing the whispers, and I'm like, "Here we go, man!"
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what they can do with the budget.
Let's hold off before we talk too much about like other things that were shown off at the conference outside of Series X.
I did one more thing to say really quickly. Okay. I'm surprised the game looks this good, considering Phil Spencer was in an interview not that long ago saying that it's going to be frame rate and like immersion, like how quickly your controller responds, that kind of stuff. That's really going to separate this generation. And he kind of undersold the graphics. And I think that, I'm not saying it was a mistake, but like this was a huge upgrade for me. It was very impressive. That's all.
Let's move on to a couple of things that actually happened before the Game Awards. We had several big announcement opportunities before the Game Awards. The first being Sony. They had a State of Play just a few days previous. And I'm going to run you through a list of things that were shown off at the latest State of Play. One was Untitled Goose Game, jumping off a Switch, coming to PS4 and other consoles December 17th.
It's such a good game. Such a good game. I love it.
It is a very quality game that I can definitely recommend to people, but it is not a me game. Spellbreak.
I agree.
Dreams officially coming on Valentine's Day, and they actually had a really cool trailer. I think that was the most effective Dreams trailer I think we've ever seen.
Yep, I agree.
Superliminal is a perspective-shifting puzzle game that is coming to PS4 in April 2020. Paper Beast is available in PSVR in the first quarter of 2020. Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, the first DLC for that game, coming January 23rd, 2020. Predator Hunting Grounds, that's the Friday the 13th spiritual successor from that same studio, coming April 24th, 2020. Babylon's Fall, coming from Square Enix and Platinum Games. More information to be announced next summer on that game. And then Resident Evil 3, coming on April 3rd, 2020. And that remake will include the game they announced previously called Resident Evil Resistance. An interesting little tidbit here that Holden found and added to us. Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle says Resident Evil 3 Remake was reportedly supposed to launch with RE2. But they were actually being developed at the same time, but they didn't quite make it with RE3. So that's why they're coming so close on the tails of RE2, it's ready to go. And that's why they're bundling in Resident Evil Resistance as like a pack-in.
That kind of feels like the only explanation for how soon we're getting this.
Yeah. Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Also, bundling in Resident Evil Resistance with it, like I probably wasn't going to get Resident Evil Resistance
100%.
anyway. And now I'm like, holy shit, like this is a game that's a sequel to a Game of the Year caliber game, and it has this additional like huge massive mode to it that I'm actually excited to play now that I'm just going to get it anyway. I'm now way more excited.
It's going to be a game night game for sure. Patreon.com/RespawnAimFire.
Which, I mean, is freaking genius. I mean, that's great. I mean, me and Jeff talked about this on our podcast. I mean, first off, that RE3 reveal, had that not leaked, that would have been a 10 out of 10, the best possible way to reveal that game. It just kind of showed a level of self-awareness that I don't see enough with video game marketing. Like, they recognize that Resistance is the thing that people aren't that hyped for, so they did the fake out, and it's like, oh shit, it's actually RE3. And just most video game companies wouldn't want to say like, oh, we don't want to like down talk our own game, we can't do that. Like, Capcom's like, no, we know what people want. But then this is the best thing that ever could have happened to Resistance.
Yep.
Because now everyone's going to play this now.
Yep. Get that player base.
It's like
That's right.
It's like Phantom Pain. Like Phantom Pain was announced as not a Metal Gear Solid game, then all of a sudden it was Metal Gear Solid 5, and like added to the hype of it when it got announced that
it was within like 30 minutes. Somebody was like, "Hey, you know the words Metal Gear Solid 5 fit perfectly into this title."
But they still didn't say anything officially for a while after that.
Yeah.
I think. But yeah, someone immediately figured it out. I'm just really excited for Resident Evil 3. I'm replaying parts of Resident Evil 2 just to kind of remember it again for Game of the Year. But Superliminal looks really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't show a lot in the trailer, but I can see there being some really unique puzzles around this mechanic. It kind of gave me this. It reminded me a little bit of The Witness in terms of like some of the puzzles you really have to understand the 3D environment that you're in and how that environment works. It kind of gave me some vibes of that. I'm really excited for that game.
Yeah. So this is the one that they had different scale and perspective puzzles. So like if you get really close to a can of Coke and you raise it up and it looks tiny to everything else, and then you drop it, it's like suddenly that can of Coke is enormous now. And
so unique. It's just such a unique concept for a puzzle game.
There's a really cool moment too where like they had this checkerboard pattern on a few different parts of a room, and if you got in the right position, it formed a cube, and then the cube fell to the ground as soon as you looked at it from the right perspective when it kind of made its shape. Very cool stuff.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about from the State of Play?
Well, I'm extremely hyped for the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, as a Kingdom Hearts fan, what seems to be in that trailer is everything that people might have felt was missing from the first game, or stuff they wanted added onto it. Not necessarily like this was cut content or whatever, anything devious like that, but it is kind of them listening to what people wanted as far as the boss fights and potentially filling out some of the story and all that and extra story stuff. And I'm really excited for that. And I was planning on replaying it with the new difficulty because one of my main complaints of the base game is it is too easy. So I wanted to replay it. But when this comes out, yeah, that's when I'm going to replay it and get all that sweet, sweet DLC stuff.
Nice. That sweet DLC. Sony also announced something else that was pretty significant this week. Sony San Diego creates a game called MLB The Show every single year, and it is the baseball game in town. And for the longest time, it has been exclusive to PlayStation consoles. And for the first time ever, and as early as 2021, this game will be coming to other consoles outside of the PlayStation ecosystem, which is pretty huge because there have been attempts at other like MLB games that have just completely tanked. So this is pretty crazy that a first-party PlayStation-developed and branded game will be coming to Switch and Xbox One, or sorry, Series, whatever the fuck it is. Crazy. Crazy.
It might not be coming to that. It might be coming to the Atari VCS only. Who knows?
Shut up. Shut the fuck up.
This whole thing screams to me that the deal was trying to get renewed between Sony and MLB, and MLB was like, hey, you got to put this on other stuff. We want to make that money. Look at we see what like Madden's doing and all of that, and we want some of that.
Right. They specifically called out like the licensing agreements, like it's being renewed and all this stuff, and due to that, so yeah, I 100% think it's MLB said, hey, we want to sell more copies, and like our relationships have been great, but like there's other stuff out there. Like cool, as long as you keep paying us the money, then we'll let other people play it.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it seems like Sony stuff in general, it's like they're going to different things, more so PC than anything else, but it seems Sony's being more agreeable to that, which is interesting.
Yeah. I think they also just stand to make a lot of money off of this. I mean, I don't play a lot of sports games, but this is the only good baseball game that is like seriously considered. There's not really many other baseball games.
An amazing baseball game. Like this is the game.
Yeah, it's as far as I know, it's the only one that's definitely this high a budget. The other one, there's just kind of little smaller ones that are, you know, if you want newer stuff.
Also, I think this is kind of another example of just the last like 2 or 3 years. A lot's been changing with Xbox and PlayStation. PlayStation is kind of always the last one. I mean, Xbox is kind of, I mean, because they didn't have, I mean, if it wasn't for Xbox and Nintendo doing crossplay, it just never would have happened with PlayStation. Right. It never, ever would have happened. And now Xbox is putting their games on PC and even Switch with Cuphead and Ori. It's just the importance of exclusives is kind of, it's either dying or it's just being forced to die, because I'm sure MLB is, I mean, this was probably a similar thing where it's like, we see Xbox is doing all this or whatever, like we want a new deal. And I think this is another example of just kind of the market forcing Sony to come out and, you know, play ball. Well, play ball. Play ball! But that's massive. That game series, like, obviously, I don't think any of the 4 of us play it, probably, but it's a big deal. It's a very big
I'm Sony. A hardcore fan.
I played it. I actually did play it on Vita when it came to Vita that one year. And then there was one iteration on PS3 where they had Move controller integration.
Nice.
So you were, like, actually pitching and batting. I was like,
how bad was that?
This is nice. It was actually really good. And I was like, that was the sole reason I got the game. I was like, oh, shit, this is so fun. But outside of that, I haven't played it.
Do they still do that? I don't even know. That'd be cool.
I don't know.
I think Move is just VR only at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Speaking of PlayStation games coming to other things, there is a PlayStation exclusive Final Fantasy VII Remake on something other than PS4. Just wait until 2021, says CJ Andreessen from Destructoid. Yes, box art for PS4's Final Fantasy VII Remake just leaked or launched or something. It was out in the wild, and on it clearly says, play it first on PlayStation, coming March something 2021 to other consoles. So if you want to wait a year, you can. Play it on your Xbox.
Obviously, that just kind of pointless exclusivity window is always kind of a bummer. I mean, I'm going to be playing this game like minute 1 on PS4, so it's not going to matter to me, but that's definitely a bummer.
Yeah, this is not surprising. They pretty much have said that it's coming to other platforms since it was announced. They've used the whole it's coming to first PS4, and that's all they've said about it. So,
yeah. There's also those that leak.
Yeah.
And they immediately deny, like, oh, no, it's not coming to Xbox. It's not a thing.
It's kind of a thing now. It's nice to know we know the exact time frame, so people who may not have a PS4, they know when they might be able to play it.
Yep.
I said on Twitter, I think I would sacrifice Jeff in a ritual if I got to play that game right now.
In a twist of fate, when it says play first on PS4, time exclusive the March 2021, on March 3rd, 2021, it's going to release on the PS5.
Oh, shit.
Not PS4 exclusive anymore.
That would be really funny if that's what happened, though.
Atari VCS.
No, get out. Moving on. Nintendo quest log.
Alien Television,
Hell yeah.
Amico.
Nintendo had their own thing. It was a little indie world event. Axiom Verge 2 was announced. Sports Story, among many new indie games coming to Nintendo Switch in 2020. So we'll just run through the games that were announced. You can pick some out if you like. Axiom Verge 2 coming fall 2020. Sports Story coming mid 2020. Dauntless is available right now if anyone's still playing that game. The Talos Principle
We're
Deluxe
not.
Edition available now. No, we're for sure not. The Survivalist coming 2020. Streets of Rage 4 is in the first half of next year. Gleamlight, which looks like straight up a huge ripoff of Hollow Knight, is coming early 2020.
You said that. You sent me a text of it, and I'm like, I don't know, like it could be that similar. And I looked at it like, holy shit, that is 100% Hollow Knight.
To the point where while I was watching it, I thought it was a game from that same developer, like an expansion to Hollow Knight. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's just a stained glass character in that same exact world. Like I thought they were identical. Crazy.
No, they're busy working on whatever the one's called.
Silk
They're
Song.
only two, yeah,
Silk
Silk
Song,
Song.
yeah.
They only have 2 people. They can't work on anything else.
So that's coming early 2020. Skatebird, late 2020.
Hell yeah.
Bacon Switch. You like Skatebird?
I don't know. It just looks dumb and fun.
Did you play it this weekend on Steam?
No, I was working most of the time that it was on and had other stuff, so didn't have time.
Gotcha. Bacon Switch coming summer 2020. Sale 4th 2020. Murder by Numbers early 2020. Liberated coming next year. Boyfriend Dungeon, where your weapons turn into men and fight with you and looks super super fun. 2020.
Right out of my
Dreamscaper. Dreamscaper coming early next year. And finally, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, which you can pre-purchase now. Available in One Wario. That's January.
Yeah, we should start saying January like that.
One Wario. I can't take credit for that. There's a how to pronounce channel, and they do like bad pronunciations of real words, and it's
Nice.
like January, and it goes One Wario. One of my favorites is Justin Bieber, and they go Juggy Brodeltine, or Benedict Cumberbatch's Bucket Crunderdunder. Anyway, those are all the things announced from the Nintendo world. Anything you guys want to call out?
You're a resident Nintendo man, Jeff. You got something you want?
There's nothing personally here that personally speaks to me.
Yep.
Axiom Verge 2 and Sports Story are big deals, and I think they were the smart choice to open and close with because they're, especially on Switch, indie darlings, or the games before them in the series were. I think it's a good list of games. I think the only one I'm confirmed to probably play is Streets of Rage 4, just because it's going to be on Game Pass, and Darby and I will probably stream it.
Nice.
Sounds like a fun time.
Axiom Verge 2, if it takes as long as Axiom Verge 1 is, I assume he started working on that before he released the first one. Because that's also a one-man operation, and it took forever.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I really want to play Axiom Verge. Now I feel more compelled because there's a sequel coming out. That's
Yeah,
what I
well,
wanna play.
You got a
Do it, you
year.
coward. And then finally, our third-party quest log starts with all the big announcements at the Game Awards, says Steven Totino from Kotaku. Started with the Xbox Series 1 announcement. We had Hellblade 2.
Offensive way you could have said his last name.
Steven Totino's.
Totino's Pizza Rolls from Kotaku.
Hell yeah.
Hellblade 2, Godfall for PlayStation 5. We'll come back and talk about these. Bravely Default 2. From Devolver Digital and creators of Prey and Dishonored comes Weird West. League of Legends spin-offs. There were a couple of these shown off throughout the night. Ruined King, a League of Legends story. And then I think the other one's down there somewhere.
It is, yeah. I forgot to add it up there.
Dark Alliance, everybody. Game called Prologue. We have release dates for Ori and Will of the Wisp coming March 11th. Control DLC out today, and then there's the Foundation comes March 26th. Gears Tactics coming April 28th for a full $60 for that game. Ghost of Tsushima is arriving next summer in 2020. And then stole the show, Fast and Furious Crossroads. Woo! That was what they chose to end the night on. Final Fantasy VII Remake trailer. There's a new Humankind trailer. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Rise of the Phoenix expansion was shown off. We saw Maneater, Naruto Blade Point, 9 to 5, not a Dolly Parton game. No More Heroes 3. Apex Legends Holiday Bash event that they spent way too long on. A really dope trailer for Sons of the Forest that makes me want to pretend to like the first game. Surgeon Simulator 2, and The Wolf Among Us 2 from a studio that we all believed was dead.
They rose from the dead.
There's a lot to unpack
That's a
in there. I want to
Frankenstein.
start by saying Dark Alliance, everybody. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance was one of my favorite games of the PS2 Xbox generation.
I absolutely adore that game. So how is this connected to
I think
that?
the spiritual successor or something. Is that right?
This is 100% the same style of game. It's the action RPG. You're playing as Drizzt Do'Urden and 3 other people no one gives a fuck about. And that's all. It's just that. And that's all we know about it. It had a dope trailer that like had some weird camera stuff going on in it. But the whole thing is just like, it exists. This game is coming. There's no other way really to play Dark Alliance or Dark Alliance 2 on current gen consoles or on anything in America. But I'm so fucking pumped for this game.
Even PC?
I don't know. Nobody fucking touches that.
I think it's actually
okay.
not.
He doesn't know what he means.
Because I also played the absolute shit out of this game when I had a PS2, and I think I looked it up on PC not that long ago. I don't think it's there. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. I didn't know this was connected to that. To be honest, I saw this. I was like, I thought it was a pretty bad trailer. Just it looked like a 2005 trailer ripped into 2019. But I even brought up on the stream, I was like, I really like the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance. I don't know. Like, I just, like, oh, this is using the same name, I guess. But I didn't know it was connected to it. And unfortunately, as I think we'll probably talk about later, unfortunately, because of the trailer, I had no clue what this game was. Like, you said the game is just like Dark Alliance, but I watched that trailer and I'm like, well, you didn't show me any gameplay or anything to go off of.
Yeah.
So
saw the same thing with a lot of Magic the Gathering trailers too. It's like that was just a bunch of like badass. Dallas was complaining, so we streamed this with our patrons too, and we all watched it together. And Dallas was just like, all of this is lies. None of it looks like that. And then I go play your game, and it's just a boring, shitty card game. Yeah. But you're right. Yeah, you didn't see anything, but they did announce it's a 4-person ARPG. You play as Drizzt and 3 other stupid, forgettable people because Drizzt with his scimitars is really all that matters.
Will you be equally pumped if the game plays like RuneScape?
I don't know what RuneScape really plays like. I just know it's an old thing that some people still play for some reason. But it doesn't matter because
that's what happens with MMOs. Kind of like an MMO and like those action RPG kind of games with those crazy CGI trailers.
If you didn't gather it already, when I was younger, obsessed with Drizzt, the Dark Elf, and his scimitars, and I thought it was so fucking cool.
I always played the dwarf, dude. I guess I'm not enough in to know what these people's names are.
Drizzt, just like in Dungeons and Dragons lore, is a character, and in those Dark Alliance games, he was like a secret unlock that you could get at the end of the game to play as him. But he was already like super powered up and had all of these crazy ass moves. But just like I read the Dark Elf trilogy that starred Drizzt. There's the comic book adaptation of it that I read too. It's like I don't know why, but he's so fucking badass. He was in the original Baldur's Gate games as well. That he was a character in there as well. Whew, sorry. I can. I'm gonna take a breath for a second. Somebody else talk about something else that was announced.
I think me and Jeff both really liked Weird West. I thought that was probably one of the best showings of the night because we know what the game is. They actually showed us gameplay from it, and it had that like kind of like weird. Devolver Digital kind of has a style at this point. You know, like you kind of know it's going to be a very kind of off kilter in a cool way game.
And at this point for Devolver, over the years, we got to the point where we see Devolver Digital, we get excited not just because of the weirdness, but because of the quality of the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They have a lot more hits than misses for sure recently.
Mm-hmm. So that was one of the highlights for me. And then you really need to just go watch our reaction just to see us talk way too long about the No More Heroes trailer because that fake out was just so funny to us.
And I'm also a big No More Heroes fan, so that was great for me.
Like, did y'all see that with the little thing? It was like foo, and it's like, Damon, I love you, or something, and then it turns into this like crazy Super Saiyan monster that like talks like a surfer guy or something, and he's like,
yeah. Did you guys happen to look up the extended version of that trailer?
No. In fact, I missed the original trailer. It was one of the first ones showed off, right?
Yeah, it was in the pre-show.
Yeah, I missed it because I was getting home late from work. Mm-hmm. So I even missed that trailer completely.
But it's so good. It was the whole fake out, and then at the end of it, you're like, so what was all that? Was it just a fun fake out or what? And then once you go into it, I kind of forgot about this. One of the characters in the trailer was in the new No More Hero games from that released this year and all that, but he just looked kind of different, so I kind of didn't realize it was him. And with all the marketing and stuff, it looks like all the characters from that trailer are going to be the bosses of the game. or at least some of the
dope.
bosses.
But it was so cool because the trailer goes on for like 4 minutes and is super, super detailed and just so like kind of surrealist and absurd. And then at the end, like that main bad guy, they said, "What are you?" And he says, "I'm a goddamn superhero." And that's the title of the game. It comes up there, it says "goddamn superhero," and then suddenly the screen breaks and it's Travis touchdown. It says "No More Heroes 3." It's like, oh my god,
That's
it's
awesome.
Like, is the game actually called "Goddamn Superhero"?
I wish somebody had the balls.
I know, man.
Suda would do that.
Suda would do that. So I mean, that was the best trailer of the night, and I have no interest in playing No More Heroes, but that was.
I'm
the
going
best.
to play the shit out of that game. Travis Smash.
The big one for me was the Series X announcement in
Yeah.
Hellblade 2. But also, Nakamura Blade Point looks awesome. It had like a Sekiro vibe with more flips in the combat. Lots of flipping around.
Yeah, it's like a multiplayer Sekiro, and that's dope.
Yeah. So that looks really cool. But a lot of the announcements, like either I knew about the game and already like Final Fantasy VII, I'm like, okay, cool, Final Fantasy VII trailer. That was nice. Let's keep going on. What else is we coming up on the show? But like, a lot of the really big announcements just didn't personally speak to me. Like Wolf Among Us 2. I'm like, I get it, cool, great announcement for a lot of people. I'm a big Telltale person. No More Heroes. I haven't played one before, so maybe I'll like that. I have no idea. Bravely Default 2, another one where I'm like, I know that's a huge deal for a lot of people. I have never played Bravely Default before. In fact, I've heard Chad all over that game.
It's not good. It's
I
not
didn't
good.
like
It's
it
good
either.
for it's good for like 8 hours, and then you have to play those same hours over and over and over again as part of the game. It's stupid.
It's also just absolutely hysterical that they literally released Bravely Default, Bravely Second, and then Bravely Default 2.
Yeah.
That was the best part of the trailer, the name reveal.
Yeah.
Square Enix is just determined to have the most complicated names of all time between Kingdom
Yep.
Hearts and the.
Another highlight for me of a trailer is like, I knew this game existed, but this trailer sold me on the game and I want it, is Man Eater. The shark.
I don't
Yeah.
honestly even remember what Maneater was.
That was
Is
the
this-
pre-show, so you might have missed that
Oh, I
one.
probably missed it. Yeah.
It's just like you play sharks and you attack people.
And you somehow get superpowers while you eat.
That
people.
sounds awesome.
It's like a Sharknado game almost.
No, seriously, look up the trailer once we're done with this. It looks really fun.
All right.
But sadly, that was the kind of level of good announcements in here. The rest of it really was a weak year in general, which I also thought E3 was kind of weak this year. I mean, I think in hindsight, we probably should have known that all the announcement like type driven shows were just going to be weaker this year because. And I don't really blame Keeley. I think he just didn't have much to work with. And even the games that were revealed here, there was just like there was 2 different League of Legends games revealed here, 2 of them, and I literally can't tell you the difference between them. I can't tell you what either game the actual game is. I don't.
Yeah, there were so many ambiguous CGI trailers with dragons and magic in them that they the Magic the Gathering, the League of Legends, they all like 7 of them. They all blend together.
I don't think I would have been as bothered by there not being as much content there because obviously next gen. That's once the consoles kind of get even more information unveiled. We see more games like. Then we'll start seeing some more stuff at the Game Awards. Developers actually show some stuff off. But then I think you were something like Wario 64 tweeted out that, or retweeted someone saying that there's going to be next gen content there. So I was kind of getting my hopes up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was Hellblade 2, great trailer, and then Godfall. I'm like, CGI trailer that I don't really even know what it is, but it's on PlayStation 5. Woo.
Yep.
We saw. I don't know where it came from, but there is a little clip of gameplay from that game out there. That
Oh,
came
is
out
there?
afterwards, yeah.
My problem with Godfall is I feel like I've seen a Destiny trailer that wasn't Destiny like 10 times the last 2 years. And that was legitimately like I feel like I'm just looking at Destiny.
Destiny with guns.
That whole like sci-fi
swords.
fantasy aesthetic. Destiny is great. Destiny did it, but everyone has tried to copy that over and over and over again the last few years. And I'm just kind of so sick of that aesthetic.
Dope. That was Game Awards. Holden, I know that you've done a lot of work typing out a lot of things, but I would love to just touch on these 2 and move on for time's sake.
Yeah. that's fine.
First of which is there is a new Bioshock game in development, reportedly began several years ago, says Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. 2K has officially finally announced that a new studio called Cloud Chamber will begin working on a new Bioshock game that won't be out for several years. However, if you are to believe Jason Schreier, which everyone in the world should, Cloud Chamber was actually formed 2 years ago, and Bioshock 4 has been in development since at least 2015, even though it might have been on several iterations. It was canceled in 2016 originally, and it moved from studios, were used in 2017 when 2K bought it back, and then finally when Jason Schreier was out looking at Mafia 3, I remember that tweet from a couple years ago. He's like, oh, by the way, biggest news come out of all of this, Bioshock 4 is happening. So it's been out for a while. They've been working on it for 2 years, and can't wait for that freaking game.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Look forward to another barf poll this month sometime. This month sometime. I hope to see Bioshock Infinite on it. And if you don't pick it, I'm going to create 7 different Patreon subscribers, and we're going to make sure that it happens.
I adore Bioshock
me to put
Infinite.
it in there.
Sonic movie redesign VFX studio shuts down. Worked extreme hours, says Chandler Wood, at PlayStation Lifestyle. So the VFX studio behind Detective Pikachu, The Lion King remake, Justice League, Guardians of the Galaxy, Blade Runner 2049, X-Men, Prometheus, Dumbo, The Jungle Book, and Watchmen, the 2009 version, and Sonic, has just shut down. What did you say? Sonic?
Sonic.
A lot of this is basically... some of it came down to, I read this from another article that wasn't like video game related. The nature of VFX studios in general is that they all try to outbid each other by lowering their price so much that the margins on like actually profiting from doing this kind of stuff, they are working so hard to try not to lose money because they say, hey, I'll take this whole job for like X million dollars, and they're like, hope I can actually do that under budget. So oftentimes it's like razor thin margins on these things already, and they finally just went under, despite reports saying that, hey, all of this redesign on Sonic actually didn't cost us too much, and it only took a little bit of time and no crunch at all. And turns out that someone on Reddit who works there is like, yeah, we regularly worked more than 17 hours a day on that redesign for Sonic. So that
He
sucks
said
that it
regularly work
happens.
17 hours a day. He said that it would happen, and sometimes it happened like a few day ranges, but it's like always over 10. Always over 10.
Yeah, that sucks. And the movie's going to tank, so
It's
they're
true.
not even going to get. They're not even going to make it worth it.
Yeah, it's
At least Sonic looks better. There's still that.
Yeah, he does. He looks a ton better. In the movie itself, however,
For a
still looks
movie
bad.
we won't see.
Oh, I will see it. I will see it because I'm an AMC A-list member, and I was obsessed with Sonic for no good reason as a kid.
I wish I could look into alternate realities and just see exactly how much better that movie will do because of the redesigns than it would have done if there were no redesigns.
Oh, yeah.
It's just stats I'll never have. But
A million better. That's all.
People honestly probably would have gone to see it because it was so bad looking. They're like, I just got to see how the whole movie turns out. And now it's just like, oh, now it's just a shitty video game movie.
we're just going to go see Cats if we want to see terrifying
Oh my God.
anthropomorphic.
God, I can't wait for that movie to die. Let's move on to our main quest, where we just want to chat about like all of the shit that came out this year. What did we miss in 2019? What do you got to go back and play? What do you got to catch up on? What's in your backlog?
Disco freaking Elysium.
Oh,
Yes.
right, Disco Elysium. I don't play on PC, but when that comes to other systems, it's going to be all over my face.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, I think that is next on your queue, is it not?
Yes, I'm probably going to start in the next couple of days and just kind of play it aside Luigi's Mansion 3. Is my plan.
Wait, you're going to do what now? I'm sorry.
Just kind of play it alongside Luigi's
Alongside
Mansion.
Luigi. Okay, yeah. Yeah, those go really good together. You know, like, commentary on capitalism and bad working conditions and stuff, and Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah, besides those, the games that I want to try to get to for sure are Resident Evil 2, still need to play that, Control, Astral Chain, and Outer Wilds.
Oh my god, it's like so many like big games that came out this year that you're not even playing for Game of the Year consideration.
Jeff, you gotta get going. You got 2 weeks.
We got a little more than that for our, Game of the Year stuff.
January. I mean, I have this year in general has definitely been. I mean, I think this year overall for the entire industry is definitely like lesser than the last 2 years, which isn't saying much. 'Cause I think 2017 and 2018 were just like historically incredible years. But and then when you get to my specific taste, it's kind of even worse. Like there just really hasn't been a whole lot that like jumped out to me. And the few things that I did really get into, like Fire Emblem was one of my favorite series of all time, but Three Houses was really ultimately kind of a disappointment to me. It was, there were a lot of problems with that. And even Mortal Kombat 11, I love that game, but the story mode I didn't really love at all. And I think NetherRealm story modes are a little overrated. And then Jedi Fallen Order, as like you guys have talked. I agree with you guys in a lot of ways.
Don't forget Metro Exodus, Darby.
Oh god,
your favorite game.
Oh god, I forgot I still have to play that. Definitely not by the end of the year, but I have to complete it.
But outside of that, like I've definitely, Disco Elysium just sounds like such a freaking like turning RPGs on their head. It sounds so unique, and just the mechanics of like your characters like psyche kind of fighting against themselves, and there's these hidden stats and like rolls, and like apparently the choices and options, like a lot of people said that they were sitting there like, I don't know what to choose. And that's just right up my alley. But and I want to play Outer Wilds. I want to try it, but I'll probably like take Jeff's Game Pass because that's on console, so I don't have to.
Wait, is Outer Wilds just on consoles?
I'm pretty sure
it's on PC as well. I think it's on PC.
I remember that being really at least at the beginning it was not. I know at the beginning it was not at the very least, but yeah.
Everything that I missed this year.
It's on Windows.
Okay.
There you go.
Everything I missed this year, I feel like I played everything that I absolutely like. I have to play this, or it was like a big Game of the Year contender. Speaking of which, we never even talked about Sekiro winning Game of the Year and surprising the fuck out of everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? I just have this is actually kind of funny. Jeff was saying it wasn't initially on Windows at first. It was on Xbox at first. And you're 100% right. Then 1 day later, it was released on Windows. That's so
still technically right.
But
you were totally right.
That 1 day, and that just stuck in my head. I'm like, oh, I can't play Outer Wilds. Damn. Like, that's just stuck in my head.
That's so weird. I've never seen like, we'll release on Xbox One, and then like on May 29th, we'll work on it to release the PC version on May 30th. They needed that 1 day development time, I guess. Very weird. I don't know why I played out that way. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Chad.
So the things that I missed this year are mostly like things that like cool projects I believed in and I wanted to like, or like stuff that I knew like this is going to be cool, but I don't really have the time to devote to it right now. The first of which is Remnant from the Ashes. That's the Dark Souls like with a shooter component to it. Basically, it's on Xbox Game Pass right now. Definitely got to play that. And then the Wolfenstein games that came out. I'm just such a big fan of the Wolfenstein reboot franchise that I have to play. Even if I don't finish them, I have to play.
You're talking about Youngblood?
Youngblood.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I just remember
Youngblood
hearing
and Cyberpilot.
so much negative stuff about it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really pick it up right off the bat. But I'm like, I have to play this in 2020 because of the respect I have for the Wolfenstein franchise. I done the same for Cyberpilot in VR. Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. And then I have Blood and Truth, which was the London Studio VR game. I played it for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then I got a game-breaking bug, and I just never went back and did it. But I really, really liked what I played, so it's just a matter of starting over again.
Same. Well, not the game-breaking bug part. I played like 2 hours, then got distracted, and the whole move and all that. I need to go back and finish that. But I'm with you. I really liked what I played.
I want to play that too, because the London Heist was a really cool little tease.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And then Concrete Genie. It's short enough, and I feel like the gameplay itself doesn't look like it interests me, but the story and the themes and stuff like that it's dealing with are something that I feel like everyone is clamoring for. All right, I'll give it a shot. I want to play it. It's a PlayStation first party, or is it just an exclusive?
It's a first party.
First party, yeah.
First party, yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine are games I started but never went back to, and it's kind of like, man, I really wish I'd gone back to that game. Or, like the case of Baba Is You, I really want to go back to that game and then feel like an idiot and probably stop playing it again. Not because it's a super clever, very good game, man, I feel like that game is smarter than I am by a lot. So I feel like I missed out on that game, and I might not go back and play it. But I really respected it.
I legitimately am not even joking. I compare Baba Is You to like Sekiro and Dark Souls. It's a very different style of game, but it kind of has the same dopamine release whenever you get something wrong, and then the punishing, like, you know, you have to you really have to learn to speak the language of this game, even though it's completely different. It is grueling. I never beat it, and we would leave and then come back, leave and come back.
Yeah,
That is probably my game of the year, maybe, which is crazy.
Whoa!
Out of the 2 games he played and liked.
And light is the caveat there.
I'm having that problem too. There's so many. I told Chad I can't even make a top 5 list because there aren't 5 games I thought were game of the year worthy. Maybe because things like Jedi Fallen Order just didn't live up for me. Remnants of the Ashes is another one for me as well, Chad. Where I started playing it and I really like it so far. It got really fucking hard, and I want to play it co-op now, so they can kind of carry me through the game. Chad, do you want to carry me through the game?
In 2020, we will.
Pulling on my list here, some of these I'm going to try to beat by the end of the year. Like I Plague Tale, Innocence. I heard that's really, really good.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna add that.
I forgot about that on my list too. Dang it!
But say you better catch up before Q1 2020 because all shit hell breaks loose.
Well, luckily, Ori got pushed back, so my February is now empty. And Last of Us got pushed back, so I'm mostly getting to Final Fantasy VII.
I started Control, and I really like it. I'm gonna try to beat that game by the end of the year.
Oh, you totally should.
I really, really want to try that game, especially with everyone who's played it really likes it. Everyone. I really haven't heard anyone who's played it and didn't like it, so I really want to try that one. And the last one is Outer Worlds, where I really want to go back and play that game. I got a good chunk into it, but it's like I got 5 hours to do it probably. But considering how long that game is, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of it. Really, really want to go back and play that at some point, but there's just no way I can get to that before the end of the year.
I want to say, I finished my playthrough a little over 20 hours, and I did almost all the side quests.
Oh, maybe
it's actually very manageable, surprisingly. It has that Fallout kind of vibe, so you think, oh, this is going to be like a 100-hour game. But no, I probably capped off at 25 hours max.
Interesting. I have it on PS4. It's on Game Pass, and a part of me wants to restart it on Game Pass just because I love the Xbox One controller, and if I have the opportunity to use it over the PS4 DualShock, I'm going to take it. Really like it. So that's a factor. And then the last game for me is Fire Emblem Three Houses. But I'm kind of like mixed if I feel like I missed out on it or not.
And you literally have the two polar opposites of, not polar opposites, I still like the game, but you have the two opposites of the spectrum.
Loved it. Here. I almost went back to replay it after I got done. Partly because of the house I picked, there's a choice halfway through that I could go back to and do another part of the story without replaying stuff, but I love the game. I put like 80 hours
Here's
in
my
it.
thing, like, Holden, do you, like, what is your experience and opinion on strategy games? Like,
so most of my strategy game experience is actually with what's the developer of Fire Emblem? Which
Intelligent Systems.
Intelligent Systems. Most of my strategy experience is actually with them, with Fire Emblem Awakening and the Advance Wars series, which is also by them, and also like Mario and Rabbids. I have experience with that. I don't have a lot of experience with strategy games, but I liked Advance Wars more than in Fire Emblem because there's not as much story in Advance Wars. It really is just more get in, do your strategy combat, that's fun, and then get out. And Fire Emblem is much more story heavy. And then actually, it was you, Darby, explaining on Nerds at Large that kind of deterred me because it sounds like the story stuff's really significant in this game.
Yeah, I would actually, based off of everything you just said, I would actually suggest to not play it because that's kind of where the game fell apart for me because the actual gameplay, like, I played on hard and, like, it is so ridiculously easy. Like, I was just never really in fear of losing anyone really ever. It was just, and then I watched my sister play on normal, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, it is impossible. You could send one person into an army and just kill everyone. So after a certain point, that like stopped, and the game is like 80 plus hours. It's that at some point, like, that stopped really being a draw for me. And then for me, at least, the writing, the like little character moments and everything, like you said, it is a big focus, which I normally would be happy about. But man, I just like the writing was just very, very paper thin through like the most of the writing was paper thin. When it came to the main story, there were definitely things that interest me, but like there's a lot of time spent in that game clicking through dialogue that it's like you are a complete trope. You are just like defined by this one characteristic. Now, next character. Oh, you're the guy that's always hungry. Oh, you're the girl who loves fashion. Oh, you're this. And it just, I started skipping the support conversations. I wasn't enjoying the combat. And at some point, I'm like, I think I don't like this game.
It's also, there's 3 campaigns. It's like 80 hours per campaign. It's just a really daunting to think about starting playing it. And that doesn't even sound like it's, at least, it sounds like I'm going to line more with Darby in this one.
Yeah, sorry.
It just sounds like it's going to, no, it's just, because I think you're speaking to things that play to my interest in games. It just sounds like it's too much. But then I had that regret still of like, but I really do want to play Fire Emblem on Switch. I keep going back and forth. But I think you're right, Darby. Sorry, Jeff. I'm so
obviously,
sorry.
As far as the writing goes and characters, he's picked the wrong house. Black Eagles for life, man.
Well, that's a flaw in the game, not me. One entire playthrough.
None of the flaws, you should pick that. Even though I was going to pick the same house as you. You strong-armed me into Black Eagles.
Mighty Kites. Oh, that was a Scrubs reference. Nice. That's it. What games, audience, fifth lifelong friend listening at home, listening in the car, listening underwater in their scuba expedition, what games did you miss in 2019? What are you going to play in 2020? Is there something that we should play ourselves? Let us know. We're going to move on to We Are So Fucking Humble, because Holden and I are the most humblest little babies, and we're just like, we don't want all the attention all the time. We want to give it to somebody else because we're humble. And that is our lovely friends from Nerds at Large. Do you guys have a topic that you brought with you that you would love to discuss today?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so mine is inspired by the Game Awards.
Okay.
And all those juicy reveal trailers. By that I mean
juicy.
By that I mean I didn't like a lot of them because it just kind of a thing that just grew as the thing went on of why are all these trailers just CG? Show me some freaking gameplay.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that a lot of them had, I think Chad said earlier, a very generic fantasy aesthetic. So they didn't stand out from one each other. So I figure what we can talk about is what's like an ideal reveal trailer for us. I know that's going to have some caveats depending on what game it is and all that, but stuff. And we can kind of say like, for this game, it was good because this reason and all that kind of stuff. But I figure that could be a good conversation.
I think no CGI. There is nothing redeeming to me about CGI in a trailer. Just show me the game. It'd be like watching a trailer for a movie and they decided to make an animated version of the trailer for the movie, but it's really live action. Like, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
It's a uniquely video game thing.
Yeah.
It's a very uniquely video game, yeah.
Yeah, but
that's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on then like a CGI cutscene from a game and just pulling that out and making it part of the trailer, like The Last of Us 2, when you see Ellie on the bed?
I was actually going to say that. I think in some cases, like, 'cause it's not just a blanket statement of CGI reveal trailers are bad. I think for some games it works. Like, I think Hellblade's trailer was good because it is very early, and we all know that, and it's kind of more of a thing of showing off what the hardware, like the best the hardware can do type thing. The Last of Us 2 is one I was actually going to bring up because I think that's a good example of doing CGI or the cutscene stuff right, because it is a sequel to a beloved game known for its story and all that. So just showing the characters in the story, I think, is enough for that game in particular. But when you show a new IP, you should at least show what's the actual game.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like in video games, it is very, very, very hard to stand out with a new IP because we just talked about all the games we need to play that we're never going to get to. It's incredibly hard. And when you're The Last of Us 2 or something like that, it's kind of like it is a case by case basis. And unfortunately, I mean, The Last of Us can afford to show me Ellie playing a guitar, Joel walks up, and I am hyped. I'm out of my mind. I'm losing my mind. It's like one of my favorite trailers because I know The Last of Us and I'm anticipating this, and I like they didn't show me the gameplay, but I kind of know where we're going, and I'm along on this ride. But whenever like these Game Awards games, I think so many of these developers, they work on this game day in and day out, and they're bought into the hype, and they like make this really cool made, like well-made trailer, and they expect that everyone else is going to be just as hyped as they are, but they need to understand when it's a new IP, if I just see this trailer, I don't know what the game is, and if I leave the Game Awards with, like, I just watched 40-something game trailers, I'm going to forget your game, because you're not showing me what it actually is, and I get it because, again, they're heads down in this game. They think this game is really dope, but they need to understand that we're not coming in there like, you know, you have to stand out, and it's fucking hard. It's fucking hard.
I agree with you guys in The Last of Us example 100%. And to me, that's not really what I meant by like a CGI trailer. I'm talking like it has nothing to do with the game. It is a separate video made for that trailer and nothing else. Whereas like Death Stranding was showing us like cutscenes from the game that I'm going to see in the game. Same with like Last of Us. That's going to be a part of the game. That's not something they made extra just for the trailer. And it does give you an idea of like what that game is going to be. The Last of Us is going to have moments of solitude with, you know, Ellie playing a guitar. That's part of the experience of playing a Last of Us game. Absolutely. Cutscenes are totally fine for a game. I do think there's also can be sometimes an over-reliance on like pure gameplay and not showing some of those other extra like moments like a cutscene or something like that. Especially with like the top-down games, and maybe that's why they have the CGI trailers. When it's like those top-down like Diablo-style games, those games I think can be kind of hard to make exciting through a gameplay trailer where you're kind of cutting back and forth, which you just the same perspective. I think that's like the challenge those games and why they go to the CGI trailers, but it just feels disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it part of it is, I think Death Stranding is an interesting example to bring up. Part of it is it an established IP or something that we already know and we kind of understand the game already, therefore we can rely more on like story and tone and those kind of trailers, versus something that we don't know. And as I mentioned, Death Stranding's kind of in the middle, where it is something brand new, we didn't understand it, but we know that it's from Kojima. So we kind of put up with all the ambiguity and not knowing what the fuck the actual game was for a very, very long time. But we put in it. Yes, the internet was like, these look cool, but what do I do in the game? But still, we kind of put up to it, and we were very hype on it, versus something brand new from a studio nobody knows, and it's this really dope-looking CGI trailer for a card game. And it's like, that literally is not the experience I'm going to be expecting from that. So I think there's like those three levels, and I think the smaller ones that nobody knows, they're trying to do the Kojima thing, like build hype in this, and oh my god, look how cool this game is going to be. But really, we need to understand what I'm going to be playing, because you're right, it's disingenuous. It's like, I feel like I got tricked. And it's exactly what Dallas was screaming about. It's like, these are all lies. None of your games are actually like this.
I think Nintendo nails it in terms of, rather than making this trailer that's supposed to just like make you excited with how intense it is, they literally just explain the game to you. And I think there's an element with Nintendo too, where it's like the Kojima effect, where you're on the edge of your seat because it's Nintendo. You're really excited what the next Nintendo game is going to be. But I kind of like that kind of explanation of the game. But I think that just speaks for my personality, maybe. Like
they also take it way too far sometimes, like the Dr. Mario iOS game, where it was literally a 5-minute trailer, just like, and this is how hearts work, and you're going to destroy these bugs, and you're going to have to... It's like, well, calm down.
I think what it does, though, and they definitely go on for too long. What it does in the case of like the two examples I brought up of or the one example I brought up of the Diablo style, like, you know, looking down perspective, top down perspective, and even like the card game, show it's a card game. I get it's a card game, and then show me through maybe an explanation or like, zooming in what makes this card game stand out from others. And I think that's where like Nintendo style does that well. is by explaining that, because it would work for a card game where it's hard to make just pictures of what you see in Hearthstone exciting.
Yeah.
In a way a trailer should.
But even those type of games, though, the people you're appealing to are probably like people who are into that kind of game. And a lot of them, like that, there's a reason why me and Jeff, out of all of these games, we're talking about this isometric Devolver Digital game, the Weird West. We're talking about that because they just showed gameplay and we all said, that looks fun. Like, I see what I'm doing in that game and what I'm doing looks fun. That totally could have been, they could have had these CGI cowboys doing a bunch of stuff, and then we just don't even know what the game is, and then we're not talking about it now. I mean, you see some of them get it right, like Hollow Knight and Celeste. They're just like, look at this platforming. Doesn't that look fun? Then, like, I didn't know what either of those games were, but I'm immediately invested. I'm immediately in. There was, it's bad I can't remember it, but whatever was in that Nintendo Direct, that kind of noir isometric game, like, God, I can't remember the name of it. It would help a lot if I could remember the name of it. But there's like a lot of those, even smaller developers. There's some that just get it, but then there's others that seem like they're just making the cardinal sin. Like even that Dark Alliance game. Like, apparently I should have been hyped for that, but like, show me the Dark Alliance part of it. Like, if they had pulled it up and I could tell, I'm like, holy shit, look, this is like, that would have been me freaking out in the stream. But instead, I'm looking at it's like, I don't know what this is, and it blows my mind that it's still in 2019. There's not someone in that studio that's like, hey guys, I've watched enough of these conferences. I see what works and what doesn't. This is not going to work. I just can't believe that there's still this many new games kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Like even when their game's fun, they'll just kind of market it completely wrong. So hire me is what I'm saying. Like hire me. I'll literally just say, no, that's bad. I don't know how to fix it, but that's bad.
That's bad.
I just thought of an example of a game that doesn't show something in the trailer that's actually in the game, but still hints at mechanics without telling you directly the mechanics. And that's actually the Breath of the Wild, the first Breath of the Wild trailer, when it was just called just Zelda Wii U. It was still pegged for 2019 or 2015. It just shows the open field. And then it shows the Guardian come up and shooting those beams out, and then Link running away, and then he jumps off his horse. It's the slow-mo thing of him pulling back the ancient arrow and firing into the Guardian. And at the moment, I had no idea all that was gameplay-oriented. But looking back, it's that all those things are things you can do in the game. Running away from the Guardian, just like you do in the game. The jumping off the horse's slow-mo effect.
Right.
But again, it has the Zelda thing going there.
I mean, when you have the established IP, you get a pass. It's just how it works.
Yeah. I think like when Nintendo, and then especially that Zelda trailer, it's with those kind of IP like Zelda and Mario and stuff, just even if it's not as gameplay focused or obvious gameplay in the trailers, just showing what's different from the other games is enough. Again, it's a case-by-case basis, but for established IP like that, the Zelda one works perfectly because even if it didn't turn out to be exact gameplay type stuff, we can just look around, see the environment, it's like, okay, this is how it's different.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought of that is when you guys were talking about Weird West and how it did show the top-down perspective, and if it had shown this like cowboys, drawn quickly kind of thing, it's like you're never going to draw a gun in that game. In that same way, probably. Yeah. It's not going to be a mechanic you see. So at least if you're going to do a cutscene, have it be around a mechanic you can do in the game that gets you excited. Like, that looks cool. Oh, and I can do that in the game. Even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then sometimes I'm a hypocrite because, like, I don't really play Diablo 3 at all, but as soon as I saw that Diablo 3 trailer at BlizzCon, I came to Jeff and I was like, Jeff, I think that's the best video game trailer I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm like, this thing is incredible. And, like,
Yes.
And like that didn't say anything about the game, but I was still just screaming from the hilltop. So I guess if it's
and
good
it was also
enough,
like 12 minutes long. It was,
God,
it was so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. Interesting discussion. Thanks for bringing that up, guys. Got two last quick things. One, subscriber interrogatives, which are our fancy way of saying listener questions. If you want to write in, at RespawnAimFire on Twitter. Our email address, same thing, respawnaimfire@gmail.com. And this time, Dusty Eeveelution Hill wrote in and said, what are y'all's favorite thing that has been announced this week, and why is it #skatebird? I think we all know mine was Dark Alliance. I freaked out on stream. I freaked out on this podcast. I can't wait.
I just watched the Skatebird trailer before we recorded. that does look pretty hysterical. I'd have to
It's
admit.
pretty jolly. I'm
Yeah.
pretty into it.
And on Game Pass when it launches. Let's go.
Nice.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'll
Yeah.
definitely play it then.
Good
But
stream.
of course, the Series X. It's just I don't know. Like I just did not expect to see a next gen console in 2019 at all. So it just really took me off guard. Was really surprised when I remember specifically when Jeff Keighley did his whole he's kind of looking away from the camera and there's some surprises that we have in store for you tonight. And I'm like, oh, what game is this going to be? And it just didn't even dawn on me it was going to be hardware. Matter of fact, I think someone in the group just yelled, "I think this is hardware and not a game." And I'm like, wait a second, what? And that was a very cool announcement for me.
I guess my favorite announcement would be the Kingdom Hearts DLC stuff, just from a perspective of I love Kingdom Hearts 3, but that trailer shows that the DLC is going to add everything else I'd want out of the game, and as long as that's good quality, let's go.
I've just been desperately looking through the announcements to figure out what would be that.
We're talking just trailers.
It's
No
Skateboard.
more Heroes 3.
That's probably a pretty bad sign. Yeah, No More Heroes 3 was definitely my favorite trailer, and I'm not going to play the game. So that's probably. I mean, Resident Evil 3 was probably the thing I was most hyped about, which is really weird to say because I've still never played a Resident Evil game. But I know I'm going to play Resident Evil 2, and then I'll get to that eventually. So and I know I'm going to love those games. So I guess that's that by default. But that's a game I'm not even I still have another game to play before that in the series. So I guess just these announcements didn't do a ton for me. I guess.
So
Thanks,
just
Dustin, for writing that in.
Skatebird. Sorry, Skatebird.
Oh, there you go, Skatebird. Yeah.
Just cut everything
Thanks,
else
Dustin,
I said
for
out.
writing that in. Anyone else, feel free to. We would love your submissions. We're going to move on to Game on Game Show, the Game on our Game Show where we play a game called Game On our Game Show. It's game. This one is something that I'm stealing. I'm stealing this game, ripping it off, exact same questions and everything from the Easy Allies podcast.
Here we go.
And
Oh no, you're gonna know all the answers, Jeff?
oh no! Okay. Hopefully it's something that is old enough or obscure enough that you don't remember them. It's a game from Tanner Menthan, is the person who wrote into their podcast. I want to give them full credit. But it's a game they do called Pokemon Are Real Animals.
Yes.
So we've done something similar in the
lost
past
you.
where
Did we
I
lose
would
you?
We were too
Are we gone?
excited,
Are we
Jeff.
dead?
We were too hyped for the Pokemon game.
I can
Are we
hear
back?
you.
I can still hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're back.
Okay, yeah.
Did you hear
Great.
us lose our mind over?
Yes. So we did something similar in the past where I read a Pokedex description and you try to guess the Pokemon. But this is just, is it a real Pokemon or is it an animal? So I'm going to go through. I have 11 here. And I just want you to call out whether it's real or not. And then if you guess the Pokemon or guess the animal, that'll give you an extra point.
Okay.
We are keeping score. There is a winner. There are 2 losers.
And the loser
First
will
one.
die.
The yellow stripes on its body absorb sunlight to convert into electrical energy.
It's Pikachu.
Yeah, but I mean, it seems too obvious. But
This is a real animal.
I'm gonna go real too. It seems too obvious.
That is a real animal. Do you know what animal it is?
Nope.
It's the yellow-tail gecko. I'm just gonna throw something out there.
It's an oriental wasp.
I'm gonna say cats. Oh, not. Oh, okay. Not cats. Just generally cats.
Oriental wasp, yeah. God, those big fucking wasps. Oh my god, terrifying. Anyway, another one. Its cry can be higher than 115 decibels, louder than a supersonic jet engine.
That's a Pokemon, and I know which one it is. I'm surprised I know.
Pokemon? What do you guys say?
I guess you Pokemon.
Mr.
as well.
Mime.
Yeah, I know a Pokemon.
So all 3 say Pokemon? That is a real animal.
Wait,
Really?
That is a
is
real
that
animal.
not Whismur? I thought
Nope.
that was the Pokédex entry for Whismur. I thought
That
was
is a real animal, and that is a pig.
Wait.
True story.
A pig can get as loud as a jet engine?
Yep, louder than a supersonic jet engine. That is a pig's cry.
Wow.
That is
Crazy.
terrifying.
Number 3, to avoid crushing the baby it carries in its pouch, it always sleeps standing up.
See, I mean,
Genghis. What's the? Is it Kangaskhan? Kangaskhan?
So you're saying Pokemon?
I'm saying Pokemon because it's not gonna be. Is it? It's something like that. There's Genghis Khan. I know who that is.
There's the
Kangaskhan.
Pokemon Kangaskhan. Yeah.
Oh, it is Kangaskhan. Okay, I'm
Like
that
a
sounds so similar
kangaroo
to
and
Genghis
Genghis
Khan.
Khan. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So you're saying Pokemon?
Because that I think keeps it in the past. I think so.
Yeah, Pokemon. It sounds too much like a kangaroo to be true. Metagaming it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with real animal.
That is a Pokemon, and it is Kangaskhan.
Oh my gosh! I
There's a
actually got it. I
Pokemon
didn't get
named Genghis
Shelter.
Khan.
Yeah.
It was from the original generation.
Can we get it on our Nuzlocke?
I thought the thing was going to be is you pick the ones that were particularly so ridiculous, but it's like, no, these are all real animals. What if you're going to go that route?
Okay, I'm proud of myself. I didn't get Shelter a long time ago. Remember that? But I got Genghis Khan.
Well, you got Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan. Sorry, I keep getting messed up.
No, you got
They just are
Genghis
so
Khan,
similar,
even though
you
its
know?
real name is Kangaskhan. I had to feed you Kangaskhan. It's like, what's the one that's like a kangaroo that's also Genghis Khan? I mean, Kangaskhan? Number 4. Though
I knew
regarded
it.
as peaceful, beautiful creatures, they will happily drink blood for its nutrients given the opportunity.
That's a real animal. That's a bat, isn't it?
Holden says real animal.
Yeah, I gotta go real animal.
I'll make it interesting. Pokemon.
All right, Darby says Pokemon. It is a real animal. Do you know what animal? Holden says bat. Jeff.
I can't do anything else but go off of Holden.
It's a butterfly.
Hell
Really?
yeah, butterflies.
Yep.
Get it,
Butterflies. Right?
Butterflies are vicious. They will suck blood.
Oh wait,
They
had
will,
no idea.
They will,
Happily.
given the opportunity, they will happily drink blood for its nutrients.
The happily is what I thought might be Pokemon. That sounds like a Pokédex entry. I didn't see scientists being like, "Oh yeah, they're jazzed about it."
Oh man,
They
yeah,
love
you can measure their
drinking that
endorphins. Number 5. It can topple an Indian elephant by enveloping the prey in 2 seconds.
Doesn't that kind of a
Pokemon.
giveaway that it's an animal?
Yeah, I think
Because you mentioned an
outgoing
elephant. They don't have
Pokemon as well.
elephants in the real Pokemon world, do they?
So we got 2 Pokemon, 1 real world. It is a Pokemon.
I kind of remember this one from the Easy Ally podcast where they're like,
yeah.
"An elephant?
Wait.
They talk."
Where did the description come from? They don't have real animals in Pokemon, do they?
They mentioned
they
an Indian
were-
elephant in the original Pokedex description.
So they sometimes in
That's
Pokédex
weird.
and even sometimes in the anime randomly reference real animals, even though they technically don't exist.
And
think that-
India.
That
they
doesn't make
referenced
any- that breaks my
India.
brain.
That's
Holden,
what blew my mind.
For what I've gathered, the Pokédex is just complete chaos. I think it's
Yeah.
legitimately they hand it to interns and they're like, write whatever the hell you want because it doesn't make sense half the time, especially in the older games.
Darby and Jeff, do you know what Pokemon it is?
I'm sure Jeff does. I do not.
I can't remember that one. I'm gonna go Swalot.
Any just out there guess?
Uh,
Darby?
Jeff, just what'd you say? Oh,
I mean, that was Jeff's guess. Do you have a guess? Okay. It's Ghastly.
Snorlax. Oh hell yeah, gas!
Yeah.
I just pictured Ghastly just enveloping an entire elephant. That sounds
Right?
horrifying.
2 seconds.
I knew it wasn't Swalot, but I was like, I didn't think it was that, but I don't know if you guys know what it is, but it's this really big Pokemon that can open its mouth really wide, and there's official art of it. So if he's like, I can see them trying to like stretch it up to
And
like
it's
an
probably
elephant or
rule
something.
34 of it.
Oh, yep. Hell yeah. Number 6. It can sense the electric fields of all living things, allowing it to hunt through electrolocation without even using its eyes, ears, or nose.
Oh,
Real
real
animal.
real animal.
I'm gonna go real animal as well, but I have no idea which one.
That is a real animal. Any
I-
guesses?
Bat?
It's,
That's a platypus.
Platypus.
It's a platypus.
All right,
Yep.
interesting.
The bill detects the electric fields of all living things.
A
Crazy.
platypus has no eyes, ears, or mouth.
It doesn't.
It
use
doesn't
them.
use
Use
those
them. Okay, I was about to say.
to
geez.
sense, to hunt. Yeah. Next up, the fingerprints are so similar to humans that they have confused crime scene investigators.
That's Pokemon. I might be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying
get it
Pokemon.
because they found like if they found an ape's fingerprints to be like, man, these massive human hands. Like I don't see that happening.
I'll go with the
Yeah,
Pokemon.
I'm gonna go Pokemon as well.
All three
And-
are wrong. That is a real animal.
Oh my god!
knew it.
It's a
Really?
koala.
Damn koalas.
Really, koala bears?
Koala bears, yep.
Committing our crimes.
Yeah, I think the koala just straight up killed him.
Who robbed
Here's the
this
thing.
bank? The
Next time you
fingerprints
go,
are everywhere.
go rob a bank, but bring a koala with you and have it touch everything too.
There you go.
Next up, they are sensitive to danger from an early age. If they sense a hazardous situation while in the egg, they will hatch early to escape.
One more time? Sorry, I missed part of it.
They are sensitive to danger from an early age. If they sense a hazardous situation while in the egg, they will hatch early to escape.
I'm saying Pokemon.
I'm saying Pokemon. Is this Togepi?
Okay.
I'll go with Pokemon too.
This is a real animal. It's
Jeez.
a red-eyed tree frog.
So it's not Togepi.
It is not Togepi. No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a real animal.
But Togepi is the egg. It doesn't hatch out of the egg.
Well, I thought like maybe it got out so quickly
Yeah.
that like it just became a part of its body. I don't know.
Togepi's a
That
weird
actually makes
Pokemon.
the opposite sense it should make, actually. If it stayed longer, then it could become a part of itself. Not if it's out sooner.
No, it's freaking frogs. They're just like, get out of my egg, yo. 3 more. Its skin is very thin. If it's exposed to light, its blood heats up, causing it to grow weak.
I'm really bad at figuring out what wording is Pokédex. 'Cause I thought for sure some of these were Pokédex and they're not.
I'll go Pokemon.
Like, yeah, I'm going to go Pokemon because it sounds like a status
I'll
condition.
go real animal. Make this interesting.
That is a Pokemon. Any guesses what it is?
Snorlax. I'm just kidding. It's not Snorlax. I have no idea.
Salandit. I don't know.
It is a Diglett.
Diglett.
Yep.
Oh, that makes sense.
2 more. When it encounters an unusual smell, it foams at the mouth and spreads that foam all over its body. The purpose of this is unknown.
Pokemon. The unknown purposes. What got me?
Yeah, I'll go with Pokemon.
Sure, it's a Pokemon. I have no clue, but it's a Pokemon.
That is a real animal. That is a hedgehog.
What is our score? Our score has to be pretty abysmal right now.
Of the 10, which means there's 20 opportunities for points if you guess it. Holden and Jeff are in the lead with 5. Darby, you have 4.
All right, still close.
Oh, no.
The last
Jeff,
one.
final question. Just you and me.
Its droppings are hot, so people used to put them in their clothes to keep themselves warm.
I really hope that's not real. But I'm going to say that's a real animal because I don't know. It sounds so crazy that it might be real.
It's a Pokemon.
And I can...
I'm going real too.
That is a Pokemon. Any guess, Jeff, what it is so you can
I know
extend
which
your lead?
Pokemon it is, but I can't remember its name. It's like Dwarma or something. Is that?
You've got a lot of the right letters.
I just forgot. I forget the name.
It's Darumaka.
Darumaka, yeah.
So what we
Yep.
learned is Game Freak's nasty. Someone had to come up with that.
They got to put poo-poo in their coats. Yeah, so the final standings are Jeff with 6 points, Holden with 5, Darby with 4, and that was Easy Allies' rendition of Tanner Menthen's rendition of Pokemon or Real Animal. That's it for Game On Game Show, and that is it for our podcast. Woo, that's a long one. Thanks, everyone, for hanging in with us. Again, patreon.com/respawn-aimfire. You can go to influence what we play along with us, or whatever the third thing is. Oh, download wallpapers. If you're playing along with us for BARF this month, it is Donut County. Write in with what you think of the game, whether you've already played it or whether you're playing it for the first time. I know Alex has already played it. He's going to email in his stuff. He already told me a little bit about it. Can't wait for everyone else. And thank you so much to our guests from Nerds at Large. Please plug all of your stuff, where people can find you, how they can support you.
Yeah, you nerds. We are Nerds at Large. You can find us at youtube.com/Nerds at Large. You can check out our Nerds at Large gaming podcast, posts every Monday on all the podcast services. Nerds at Large Spoilercast for our movies and TV show reactions. BoJack Horseman coming up. That'll be cool. And check out Nerds and Dragons will be our D&D podcast that will be appearing. I'm doing all the music for it and doing the editing and writing the story, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
And twitch.tv/nerds@largegaming. You can check out all of our streaming content.
Watch us kill our Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
It's pretty sad.
Dope. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. Until next time, here's our usual sign off. Do you remember Anthem?